We are live. We are live to the internet. We are currently on Twitch. Well, it was smoother than last week, I suppose. When I
Really?
full
Wow.
on, I full on ran off camera right as we went live. So, and was gone for like 5 minutes. So that was great. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to Dungeons and Distancing. If you are joining us from the Twitch channel, we are super appreciative that you guys are joining us once again for this crazy D&D competition. You may recognize 3 of the players from last week. Unfortunately, as this is a D&D competition, not everybody can make it through round to round, but we have a new, semi-new cast for you guys today. And we're going to have just as much, I'd say fun, but I know what this module is, so fun today as we head through the module. For those that don't know who are joining us through Twitch, Dungeons & Distancing is a D&D competition which is brought to you by ArcanaCon in partnership with Arkenforge, and it is sponsored by the fellows at the Quest Suppliers, who are an Australian online hobby supply store supporting Australian creators, which I think is really fantastic, and RPG writers, as well as the RPGs we love like D&D. Everyone today who doesn't make it through, so if your favourite player doesn't make it through today, they will be getting a $20 gift voucher from the Quest Suppliers. So we thank the Quest Suppliers for their generosity there. And those that do go through to our grand final, our final episode, if you will, next week, will be playing for even greater riches. So looking forward to that. But for today, let us not waste any more time. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to introduce you all to the adventure that we will be playing through today. And then we will meet our cast of characters. For those that don't know, because you can't read the name that's there, my name's Ben, I'm from Melbourne Dungeon Master, and this is Blood in Woodhaven, Part 4. Welcome to Woodhaven, a small village nestled among the trees on the southern side of the River Wood. While officially part of a province called Frontier, the village is very isolated and often goes weeks or months at a time without visitors. This closely knit community is walled within a palisade that protects the village from invading predators such as wolves or bears. Inside are several dozen cottages and burrows squeezed between the larger municipal buildings. The people of Woodhaven comprise of humans, half-elves, dwarves, halflings, and especially gnomes. Ancient rock piles that dot the village point to the forest folk as the founders of Woodhaven, collecting visitors throughout the centuries to grow their community. Today, the population barely reaches 1,000, yet Woodhaven continues to grow slowly each year due to their successful self-sufficiency and outsiders deciding to retire here. Woodhaven is indeed charming and idyllic, hidden in the woods with the road into town barely more than the 2 dirt lines cut into the underbrush by the carriage wheels. By day, the town centre is bustling with friendly locals who are trading goods and swapping news, and by night the smell of log fires and fresh cooking intermingles with the sound of chirping crickets and rustling leaves. But the peaceful existence of Woodhaven has recently been interrupted by a sickness that is slowly, steadily spreading through the town. The first to fall ill was the alderman's son, Dean Herschel. Soon after, other villagers also became sick, and panic began to grip Woodhaven from fear of the blood spittle plague spreading throughout the settlement. In the last 2 weeks, up to 50 people have fallen ill. 12 of them have died. The symptoms start as a weakness and loss of appetite, but quickly escalate into bleeding from the mouth, eyes, and fingernails. Painful lesions also form to make the bleeding worse. Soon after, the victim becomes emaciated and unable to keep down food or water. Their weakness increases until they can no longer move, and finally, a quiet, though painful death. Our adventurers, gathered here today, have spent the last couple of days in Woodhaven trying to find some sort of solution to this blood spittle plague. They have searched for herbs that may prove to be some sort of antidote. They have looked for the town's missing keeper, a sort of healer and priest that would live in the village. They have had supplies stolen from the village and recovered them from savages that live inside the woods, and they have beaten or parlayed with a witch who cursed the village and may be the initial cause of the plague, but she does not know what it is, and the plague cannot be cured by her magics. Our adventure today begins one evening as with the party assembled in the local log hall, the tavern near the heart of Woodhaven. The The local log hall appears like an oversized barn from the outside, but from the inside, it reveals itself to be a beautiful and cozy wood-furnished hall, with long tables and a central fire pit. The fire pit burns low this evening, and the mood in the tavern is equally dim. Very few villagers visit the public spaces anymore. The blood spittle plague continues to progress at a steady pace, taking more lives each day. Sarah Forsdotter, the keeper's apprentice, does her best to distill a treatment from the apixaban herb recovered by the party. While trials have slowed the disease's symptoms, she does not believe that she can cure it. And Alderman Percival Herschel has become reclusive and refuses to speak with anyone, with no other lead to follow or avenue to investigate. He has become terribly, silently resigned. Those that are able to are now leaving Woodhaven in their droves, terrified of the illness. The villagers left behind are gripped with fear, wondering who will be next to contract the disease. Regardless of whether the party, regardless of their successes in the past, they still haven't been able to find a solution to this plague and gather themselves at the local log hall, either in quiet commiseration or silent determination, or not so silent, I suppose, determination to come up with a solution among themselves. You guys currently gathered inside of the tavern, as described. You can see there's only a few other people in here. There's Timotei Alfred, the young sort of tavern owner who looks over the rest of the tavern with detached misery. You can see there's two other individuals, a gentleman sitting with a shovel against the bench that he's sitting at, and he's sort of silently crying into a cup that he has in front of himself. And a third person, a woman, a gnome, who sort of sits silently and eats her dinner, handling her utensils very delicately while she silently reads a book. We may meet these people in a moment, but first, I want to know what you guys are doing. And I'm going to start with Solana. What are you doing at this very moment? Can you give us a description of your character and why you have gathered with your party members?
Well, absolutely. Solana has been through the wars for the last few days, so she'll be definitely trying to work on her new hot hit, inspired, getting ready for the charity gig that will definitely come once they've solved this terrible plague. She's sitting there, she's still partaking in a beverage as much as, she can foresee that it's quite a sad time, that doesn't stop her from enjoying the finer things in life. And really just seeing if she can, lightens the spirits, maybe getting ready to test out this hot track and see how the people enjoy it and maybe lift their spirits in this very difficult time. Oh, and sign autographs, for sure. Going around and just handing out autographs to everybody.
Okay, cool. No stress. All three people assembled here. In addition to the party. Zanzibar, description of your character and why you are here currently.
Yes, Zanzibar is, of course, one of the elders of the village. She is from a prominent merchant family. She did deviate a little bit from the traditional roles of her family. She does have a love of magic, and so, has followed that path. And she's using those magic skills tonight. She's poring over some of her tomes, trying to see if she can see any mention of a pixarapan, or perhaps, magical causes of strange blood spittle plagues. She's also been spending time researching the red apple. It's a very unique magic. She hasn't heard of anything like it before. And she's also waiting for some of the Merchants Guild to come and consult with her. They're doing a drive at the moment to arrange more supplies for the hall, where, of course, anyone who is ill is currently residing and trying to be supported by Sarah.
Okay.
She's keeping herself busy. The only way to deal with a crisis is to manage it, and manage it right out the door, quite frankly.
Okay. Very good. We may come back to the red apple in a moment if you have questions. But until then, Barber Ian, description of your character and why you are here.
Hello everyone, I'm the town barber Ian, and I'm here because I like to help out. This town's been really good to me, and I hate to see it suffer. And it's really gone downhill in this last week, and I just want to help everyone get back on their feet. He's a Goliath barbarian, so he's huge, and at the moment he'd probably be helping out like behind the bar, maybe just chopping veggies for the soup or something like that, using his giant war axe. which has 2 straight blade razors as its head. Sheep's almost up.
Cool, no stress. The new hire of Timotei, who just you just wandered in there. He didn't try to stop you. Meeting one of our new party members, at least to the Twitch stream, but someone who has been through all of the adventures along the way through Woodhaven, Monty.
Hi, yeah. So Monty, he's the human rogue. He's probably a little taller than I am, so about 6'2", with a tiny little Errol Flynn moustache. Monty is probably sitting by the bar, watching everyone carefully, just playing with some cards, and occasionally you might notice that some of the cards seem to appear or disappear quite conveniently. And you might also notice that he has a drink pretty much always in hand and suspiciously full, and it seems to fill itself up every time Timotei turns away. With a quick little flourish, Monty's just happy to lean over and top up in the background.
Cool, no stress. Why do you think Monty's come here tonight?
So Monty's pretty new in town. He turned up in town mostly because he was avoiding some debts. So he's been hanging around with the crew of the crew that he's been adventuring with for the last few weeks, and in general, he thinks it's an easy way to get out of town again, and maybe a way to turn a bit of a profit. So he's a bit more welcome in somewhere a bit larger again.
No stress. Marshall.
Hi, I'm playing Marshall Arm, who is a dwarven fighter, who also works for the town militia as a marshal, of course. And he's very concerned at the moment because, as you mentioned before, the alderman has apparently resigned. And if he has resigned, where are we going to find someone new to run the town? Because no one has quite a beard quite as long or as stiff or as grey as the alderman's is. So he's going around with a small wooden ruler, measuring people's facial hair to see if anyone can measure up to the task ahead of running whoever's left in the town.
Okay, cool. No stress.
Which is why I'm here to catch up with my friend Barber Ian, who knows much about these things and the people's beards in town. Hello, my friend. We will talk to you in a moment. I just want to see who else is coming through the door. We have one more person with us today.
Indeed we do. Last but certainly not least, Draylene. Why are you here?
Well, Draylene has she's had a bit of a revelation over the past few events. Originally set out that sort of starry-eyed, seeing the world, wanted to learn more. And upon coming to Woodhaven, and thought, might be a bit of an adventure to record the events of this escapade and turn it into a song. But now feels quite involved and almost tied to this issue. This sort of sense of morality is quite new, but over the past, watching Percival's decline and just all these the effects of the pandemic has really just delved sort of into themselves. Is now scribbling, has like a stack of parchment paper, and is just constantly scribbling, trying to find the right lyrics and the right words to kind of describe what they're feeling and what's going on throughout this period.
Very good. It is at the local log hall currently evening, with you guys assembled, so it's around dinner time. Does anybody want to do anything initially? Does anybody want to say anything to anybody else, or approach some of the other individuals gathered in the tavern here tonight?
Yes, I do. I would like to.
Sorry.
Let us
That's all right.
Go for it, Marshall, and then we'll see if it's the same person, Monty. What would you like to do, Marshall?
I would like to go up to the man with the shovel and say, "Hello, man with shovel. Could you please show me your beard for just a moment? I need to measure it."
He does not hear you approach and kind of knocks his glass off the table almost in fright as you walk up to him. It seems that he's, quite withdrawn and quite inside of himself. As you approach him, he sort of looks up. You may know him, you may not, as he's known around the town, but for those that know him, his name is Robert Crick. Broad man, with the wooden build and square features of a labourer. Hair and beard at the moment are terribly kept, his face sunken and damp with tears, and his eyes are bloodshot. As he sort of tries to speak to you, his voice frequently breaks as he tries to talk, and says, my good man, I didn't see you there. My apologies. My apologies, he sort of shouts at the barman with the broken glass on the ground.
I am sorry to distract you. That is no way to keep your facial hair, by the way. Maybe you should speak to my friend Ian about keeping it better. Ian, come from behind there and come and help me here.
I'm almost done with the soup. And he finishes up that lot of veggies, pushes it in, comes around.
Cool. Not a stress.
What's going on, Marshall?
Go for it.
This man needs to have the tangles kept from his beard. It is as tangled as many of the darker natures of this wood.
This is going to take all night. And he sits down, pulls out his combs and scissors, and starts to manicure this man.
Sure. As you start to go for it, Draylene.
I hate to interrupt this beauty session, but there is still a disease in this town. I'm not. And she's kind of like cooped up, like legs on like a chair, kind of just up, being like, this is not cleanly. Like, do you know what that beard has seen? What's been in that beard? Ugh. And just trails off into very little.
I must say, I do not know. Friend, you seem to be upset. Why is it that your tears come from your eyes as such? Which is the right place for tears to come from. But why are they leaking so?
He kind of like, whether Ian lets him or not, feebly tries to push Ian away as he approaches and says, No. Your friend, gesturing to Raylene, is right. I should not be approached or touched at the moment. My son, you see, had the plague and has recently passed. So, who knows? Perhaps I'm about to. I appreciate your condolences, but I'm sure I will be speaking to him very soon.
Yes, we will be speaking to you from other side of table, definitely.
Please, if you wish.
Didn't we find out this is a curse, not a plague?
I think what we found out after speaking, and investigating, is that the witch put a curse on the village, and that curse has attracted some trouble, and that trouble is probably what's causing this horrid plague to affect the nearest and dearest that we know in this village.
Can I?
Admittedly.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Admittedly, we have still not found the alderman, and we have sworn solemn oath to find the keeper Broadleaf. I have made solemn oath we must find him at some stage.
At the moment, there are no current leads for what has happened to the keeper, which, may affect the party in different ways. Can I get Zanzibar? Can you make for me an Arcana check just on the apples? You said earlier that you were sort of paying particular attention to those, and just as I'm not sure if people in the stream can see our rolls, just making sure you kind of comment out what you roll. And just while you're doing that, I'm going to jump over. What did Monty want to do earlier, or what is he doing while this is all happening?
So Monty is kind of watching these other people chat. He also noticed there's a new gnome in town reading a book. I think you said by the fire.
Yeah,
so I think
absolutely.
Monty would grab a second drink and be sort of casually or quietly wander across, looking over the gnome's shoulder to see what they're reading, first of all, and see if he can pick anything up.
Mm-hmm.
Anything interesting, and then would kind of casually sit down across from them and say, perhaps I can introduce myself. My name's Monty. Do you fancy a game of cards? Seeing you in town, and it might be a bit of fun to chat to a friendly face. This all seems a bit miserable in here today.
This woman, a gnome who indeed you don't really recognize, dressed in very fine, though kind of old-fashioned evening dress, Her hair twisted into plaits that meet into a very neat bun atop her head. She wears spectacles that sit halfway down her long nose and is indeed reading an old book, which... make a quick perception check for me, Monty, to see what the book is. What's Solana doing during this? Just don't forget you're on push to talk, Solana, with your phone. Oh, we may have lost her audio. Okay, cool. I'm just going to open my chat.
Hopefully not. My perception check was awful, if that helps. So
Okay. What was it?
she's reading a book. Rolled a natural 2, so total of 7.
Okay, cool. No stress.
My Arcana check was 23.
Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. The book is not particularly interesting. You see a couple words in there. It seems like it's, maybe some old romance or fantasy novel or something, but it definitely doesn't attract, you barely catch any of the words. And in fact, she closes it over and puts a hand on top of it when you sit opposite her. Just jumping back to revisit the Arcana check. You, Zanzibar, kind of considering these apples, the magic that pervades them is strange to you. Especially because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of how a wizard understands magic is maybe not entirely mathematical, but at least follows some form of logic in its illogicalness. Fey magic is very difficult to kind of pass when using those same thought patterns or ways of thinking. And you experienced this in the previous week with the archways that kind of led into the same space, but it was like a different place every time you stepped through one. These apples you witnessed, I believe, last week, once Edith did not want you to be able to hold them anymore. They rotted instantly. They seem to be grown by her, imbued with magic by her, and basically seem to draw from her and do almost anything that she kind of wants them to in the moment. If she wants them to rot instantly, depending on who's touching them, she can make them do that. There are obvious limits to the power that these apples provide, however. You have observed that they can remove mechanically levels of exhaustion, but make a person feel revitalized. You have observed that they can help a person kind of ignore or shrug off an injury, so mechanically give healing. You also suspect that they can cure, and in fact, I think it was seen that these apples can cure poison, and according to Edith, they can cure disease, but they have not been able to cure the blood spittle plague, which, as Ian was reflecting upon a moment ago, must mean that this is not a disease, or at least this is not a common disease. Something else is happening here. Some sort of curse or greater threat is threatening Woodhaven, you suspect, and not something that Edith seems to be capable of curing. But nevertheless, having 6 of these apples with you, may come in handy at some point. Just quickly going to double check if we have Solana there. I saw her window light up momentarily. I've just got some messages. Bear with me. She has lost the whole stream. I got you for a second there, Solana, and you just kind of came through. We can hear you sort of... Great radio. We can hear you sort of messing with the phone a bit. I might move on and come back to you again in a second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That is a shame. We may lose Solana during the game, unfortunately, due to tech issues, unfortunately. So apologies there. I keep getting your messages kind of coming through 3 at a time.
No, I think I've just got. I think my two guys here.
Okay, it seems like we may have to apologise, and apologise to Dante, who I know this may start to create a tech issue for him as well. All right, let us jump over back to Monty, who is sat opposite this woman, this gnome. What was your question again, Monty? What was your opening line for her?
Hi, how are you? What's your name? You seem new in town. would you perhaps care for a game of cards? And he'll put a drink down opposite her and in front of himself as well.
She looks at you. She has a very shrewd expression on her face. And as you say that, she looks at the drink momentarily. Her eyes flick back up to you. And she says, "No, young gentleman, I do not care for a game of cards or a drink, which I have not asked for. In fact, I came into the village hoping that here I would find some peace. But it seems that everybody is determined to interrupt that peace." And she kind of gives a glance across to Robert, Marshall, Ian, Draylene, where they're sort of sitting, having a reasonably loud conversation. She looks back at you. She looks up when you say that. She doesn't seem to have enough confidence to come back at you necessarily, especially because like there's so few people in here. Everything she's saying is very, broadcast. And instead, she just turns back to Monty and says, "I would appreciate if I was able to eat my meal in peace. Thank you, sir."
Well, I'm sure I can happily arrange that. These are my friends, and of course, this is a friendly town. Of course, they're in slightly bad circumstances at the moment. So, yes, if you want to eat your meal in peace, well, I'm sure if you come around this side of the bar and we can sit down next to young Timotei, he'll be able to sort you out with somewhere quiet and restful, and you and I can just have a little chat, the two of us.
She puts her utensils down, one, like the fork next to the knife, very, squarely, very parallel. Tense her fingers, or knots her fingers in front of herself, purses her lips again, and she says, "I in fact have a private room here, but I would not dare take you up to my private quarters if you insist on having this conversation. What is it you wish to know, young Inquisitor?"
Oh, I'm just curious that anyone would come here at this time. You surely have heard of the blood-spittle plague, and I can't imagine that you would be in town right now if you didn't have a very pressing reason. And of course, I'm a helpful fellow, as are my friends, and we'd love to be able to help you out. And of course, if you can help us as well, and maybe if I can earn a little coin on the way, then I'm sure we can come to some beneficial arrangement.
She leans across the table at you, which being a gnome is not very far, and then says, sort of quite curtly, "The blood-spittle plague, young man, is not something I'm personally concerned about, due to bad air or water, and besides, it only affects those that have sinned. But nevertheless, there are things outside of this village that do concern me. I'm not a tourist here, young man, you understand. I've lived outside this village for many, many years. You may call me Ms. Migletti, if you would. I used to live in a cottage only a few days ago, which I've lived in with my husband since he passed away, not of the plague, before you ask, and have lived peacefully there ever since. But with talk of savage folk and monsters in the swamps and the return of a witch, I thought it best to find safety inside of the town. Especially since recently my house was visited by someone," and she looks at you very straight and puts great emphasis on this word, "unwelcome."
I would never call myself unwelcome, no matter where I was visiting. Well, I'm sorry if I'm disturbing Miss Migletti. Hopefully I'm getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Letty. Migletti.
She corrects you like
perhaps
every single time you pronounce it wrong, but like very matter of fact. She's like, Migletti.
Migletti.
And she gets like more frustrated the less you can pronounce it correctly, even though it is quite a trip of the tongue surname.
That's all right. At this point, I think Monty... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Monty would be quite ignorant. Perhaps I can introduce my friend Zanzibar. Zanzibar's from around here. Perhaps you've met them before. Perhaps you've met her. She's from a well-to-do family, and you certainly look quite well-to-do as well. And maybe you and your husband knew her parents way back in the day. If you've been from around here,
I think Zanzibar, you would know the Miglettis. Maybe not personally, but by reputation. They are an older family, a gnome family that's lived in the village. You know, her first name, you just kind of, you know it because you know the community, is Ulip. And she is they're a very well-to-do family. They keep to themselves very much. You know that she has a cottage which is outside the palisade, which they have in the woods basically for privacy reasons. But know that, you're unsurprised by her curt, I should say, kind of manner as she speaks to you.
I'll walk over, and as I walk over, I'll casually ensure that the signet ring that belongs to my family, the pumpernickel, is visible, as well as the scroll that shows the pageantry of my family. And I'll go up to her and say, Ulip, I believe you were a friend of my mother's. What are you doing at roughing in this tavern?
As I was explaining to and she looks at Monty, I should say, in a very, she obviously doesn't think much of Monty whatsoever, as she looks at him in a very kind of like a librarian looking over the top of her glasses at you in a very stern way, letting her brow just kind of sit in a frown rather than actually bothering to frown herself, and says, your friend here was asking me about why I had chosen to live inside of the village, as you just have, and if you must know, it is because I got a unwelcome visitor the other night just outside my cottage. They were not able to get in, thankfully. I'm assuming it was one of these savage folk or whatnot that people are talking about, but just to be safe, I've decided to come and live inside the village. I'm staying here in Timotei's Tavern for the time being. If that is not too much of an offense to all of you here, and he kind of looks around at the two of you.
No. Please forgive Monty. He's salt of the earth. You know that the commoners are the lifeblood of the village, and without them, we wouldn't get anything done. But I really feel like you'd be much more comfortable at our estate. We do have an excellent library there. You're probably missing your own library at this point in time. But if you are being disturbed, we really should do something about that. We can't have riffraff, making things unsafe for the merchants who come back and forth. Do you have any more information on this person this unwanted visitor?
Absolutely not. I didn't go out to try and get a look at them. I stayed under my bed. I'm not proud to admit, is where I hid. I did until they buggered off. Fortunately, they tapped at the windows. They tried to get in the front door, and then they left. Look. And she looks at Monty. If you are looking for some work, perhaps I could spare a small amount to permit you to take a look around my village, around my cottage. But let me say this, they did not make it inside. There's no reason to get mud on the carpets and then she looks at Zanzibar and, insight check's not required to see that she's, a little bit suspicious. Go through my books. Just as she finishes, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure. No. I'm sure your quaint little library is sufficient for your needs, Ulip. No, we would never dream of going inside your cottage. But we appreciate the offer of work you're offering, Monty and our villagers. So work is a bit of a troublesome thing at the moment. But yes, we will go check this out as long as Monty's happy to. And no, we won't disturb your cottage.
No, of course. I would never dream of leaving a trail of footprints across your beautiful carpet. No, we'll absolutely check out your house. I'm happy to do so. Here, you know what, Zanzibar, you stay here and find out Miss Migletti's address, and I'll go and grab you Migletti. Yes, I'll get it, I'm sure. And I'll go and get Zanzibar a drink, and you two can talk it out.
What is Draylene? Sorry, yes. Go ahead.
While this is happening and while that conversation's been going on, I'd like to kind of just slowly grab my chair and just sidle up to near to Robert, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And I just want to, stand a little further away, but just ask him, Robert, I'm so sorry for your loss. If you mind telling me, what was your son's name?
Tobias. We called him
Tobias.
Toby. He was a good kid. He was 15, 16. He is a good kid. He was 15, 16. He is 15, 16. Yeah.
I know it's not much, but would you like me to dedicate a song to him?
He kind of like looks down. He raises his eyebrows. You can kind of, again, an insight check's not really required. You can see that he's kind of like thinking for a moment, and then he says, "If you have a song, perhaps you'd like to sing it to him yourself
I can do that
in person."
in person.
Sorry, is the son dead or alive? Sorry.
Yeah, wait, Robert, is your son not dead?
He tenses up. You watch his body kind of do it, as if like anticipating something. He says, "My son, he had the plague, and we buried him in the graveyard near the barrow."
Well, I do then hope he is alive. Well, I mean, not alive, if you buried him.
Just shoot a look at Marshall, like, yeah.
What?
No, it's all right. It's all right. People think I'm out of it, but I'm not. I'm not. My Toby's alive. I've seen him. He's not dead at all.
Did you
So-
say you buried him near the barrows? That's normally forbidden for our village.
No, we in the graveyard. That's where we were instructed to.
Okay, in the graveyard, near the barrows. Though.
Where,
Indeed, yeah.
where have you seen him since you buried him?
Around in the street. I've seen him. He knows who he is. He knows where he lives. He's come visit. Me and my husband in the night. We lying in there. I've seen him looking in through our bedroom window. And every time I try to speak to him, but he runs off for playing games with me.
Is your husband still alive too?
Yes, no, absolutely. Varren is alive. He's not as convinced as I am that Toby's alive as well, but once I can show him, and he kind of like puts a hand on the shovel that's leaning against the table next to him and just kind of like jostles it. Once I can show him that that Toby's alive, then we'll be we can leave this place together and this darkness will be behind us.
Robert, how long ago did you bury him?
The days blur together, but it's got to be at least a week.
Oh, Tobias is probably very lonely wherever he is, and maybe we should go and just check on him and make sure he's okay. I'm sure he would enjoy that song too.
Robert looks at probably Ian and Marshall at this point. You guys are looking the most kind of fightery, the most kind of like woodsman-y out of anyone here, and says, if if you're looking for and Patsy's shovel fun activity tonight, I just want to make sure I don't get attacked by a wolf or something on my way to the graveyard.
Aren't you already married? We are not looking for a particularly fun night.
You mistake me, sir, but that's okay. I just, I meant, if you want to come and see, if you want to know that I'm not out of my mind. I know what I'm doing.
You meant, sorry. I wasn't, it's very lonely being only dwarf in village, you see.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm happily married.
I try not to let it get to me, but it's difficult sometimes, But yes. Can we borrow your shovel?
I'll need this. I'll be taking it with me.
You wanted us to accompany you. Was that it?
If you seem interested, I mean, you.
Draylene just like
This is not sounding suspicious at all.
I'm just going to take the opportunity to double check, just because I can see that Solana's still in the chat. Are you with us? It looks like we may have lost her entirely, which is a huge shame.
And we'll move over to Ulip. Miss McGlady, did you say that you recently lost your husband out at your cottage?
No, my husband has been gone for some years. He did not die of the plague, as you may be suspicioning. She said, that's a word. That's a word. Google it.
That sounds like a good word to me, Miss McGlady.
The DM says suspicioning. She gets suspecting. She's very well spoken. She gets it kind of off the tip of her tongue. Is that all right? Anyway, moving on. What was
It's a known word. It's a known word.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, what was that last thing you said, Ian? I was too busy being distracted by myself.
I was just pondering as to whether there might be any fresh bodies out near your cottage that may also be walking around after they've been buried.
She gets very quiet. She leans across the table at you, gives you a look. Makes the looks she was giving Monty before look like they're friendly. And she says, I don't mean to be impolite, gentle Goliath, but are you out of your goddamn mind? That man he's beside himself with grief. And for you to be entertaining those fantasies, it's downright absurd. And it's perverse. I will not entertain it for a moment.
Ian does the whole fists under the biceps to really emphasize how much bigger he is than this gnome. Says, well, I've been out and about doing a thing or two around the village these last few days, and I'll tell you that things coming back to life and trying to get back into their houses is not the craziest thing that has been propositioned to me. So I will thank you to please not invalidate any suggestions that we come up with.
That's all right, Ian. We could... Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
No, that's all right, Ian. Look, how about you come with me tonight and we can have a look around Miss McGlady's home and make sure that these intruders, whoever they might be, they're not the wild people, they're not random saber-toothed tigers, but instead, maybe they're the undead. And if they're the undead, then I'm sure a big man, a big strapping barber like yourself can do something about it. And of course, I'm sure we can bring everyone else as well.
I would love to come along, for after all, this may be Keeper Alduin, Keeper Broadleaf, who we still have not found. Maybe he was looking for shelter. He has been gone long time. Must be hungry by now, yes?
And he probably has a very long beard too, for you to check out and see if it's worthy.
I will be taking my ruler, yes.
I'd like to just try and sidle up to Zanzibar and just in a hushed tone ask her, Zanzibar, we are currently insinuating digging up someone's grave if we entertain Robert's interests. I'm not familiar with this town's customs, but how much are we desecrating in case if we perform or assist in an act like that?
I'm sure we won't have to dig up anyone. We're just helping out our fellow community member Robert, who just needs to have a little bit of peace of mind. And that is our community duty and the way we can help ourselves during this troubling time. So let's just help our friend. We'll go for a walk with him. We'll reassure him. Maybe the elder is there. And I'm sure there'll be no need to dig anything or anyone up.
If you say so.
I think the best thing is just to let Madam here, finish her meal. She can think about whether she wants to, stay at my estate, or stay here. It's entirely up to her, and we'll go about our business, managing the town.
Okay.
Is the graveyard near the cottage at all?
Yeah, it is. But if you were to ask that to Zanzibar, she'd probably know. Asking this to Miss McLetty, she kind of doesn't even entertain it with an answer. She's thoroughly intimidated, but, in that same note, not a fan of Barber Ian at the moment. So she kind of if you ask her that question, she just kind of picks up her book, pushes her half-eaten meal away from herself, gives a very meaningful look to Timotei, because theoretically he's meant to, keep people from bothering each other inside his own establishment, and he just kind of shrugs at her as she disappears up the stairs, and he just goes, "You guys are fucking weird."
That's awesome. Timotei, you can talk. Seriously.
Yeah, come on, no judgment.
We know all the little things that go on with this tavern.
All right.
Did Yulip happen to leave her book behind?
She did not. She took it with her.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, shall we head out of town? Have we got some torches to light the way?
I think I do.
I think Zanzibar, I think you might be in the lead if you know the Miglettis. Do we have her keys?
Yes. Well, we've promised not to look inside her cottage. Cough, cough.
The keys
So-
just make things easier. We don't really need them. But,
We don't need keys.
I'm sure.
Yep. Absolutely. Say, what is it?
Absolutely not.
Say
And
no
Monty
more?
just rubs his hands together.
Breaking and entering, and another great feat added to our list as this adventuring party. This will be an interesting tale to tell. I'll say that.
Be assured, I have made a sworn oath to protect all buildings inside this village.
And also the people as well. Yes, Marshall?
Oh yes, inside this village. Where is this house again?
It's actually outside the village, if I recall
Definitely outside
correctly,
the
DM.
Very good.
Indeed it is.
Very good. She's now inside the village. I don't care if we break down the door of her house.
Free range. Let's hunting season, I guess.
Cool.
Just before we go, I'll just have a quick chat to Timotei and remind him that I'm planning to pick up some vegetable pies tomorrow that I'm planning to take out to Edith as a gift.
Sure. He kind of nods and says, "Yep, wood chips waiting to go."
Thank you.
I think would be good idea for this Robert fellow to see Sarah in village just to check if he does have plague.
Great idea. Great idea. So what should we do next, my fellow party members?
Well, I think if we're going to help Robert, he's quite volatile. This is obviously quite hushed, and I think we can help him, but we need to make sure we be careful with it. So yes, maybe a visit to Sarah just to keep him momentarily distracted, maybe, and then we can assist him with whatever he wants to do with that shovel.
Also, I recommend before we go, just in case we encounter Keeper Broadleaf, let us each take one of those apples so that they are conveniently on our persons in case we see him. But they are with us. We have them in our equipment.
I have one in my hand right now.
How insightful.
Oh, good. I have also brought mine.
Monty opens his throat, there's 3.
Cool. All right, no stress. So my understanding is that you guys want to kind of hit almost all 3. You want to take Robert to see Sarah. You want to accompany him to the graveyard, but you also want to go via Migletti's house. Cool. All right. Going outside into the village to find Sarah. She is at the Evergreen Garden, this garden that grows in the eastern side of the village, just inside of the palisade, a sort of cross between a a botanic garden and a temple with the golden bark tree, this large oak with yellow bark and emerald leaves growing in the center of it. There's not many people around at the moment, being that it is the middle of the night. And the golden bark, or the evergreen garden, I should say, is always dark during the evening because there aren't like torches or anything inside of it. You find Sarah inside of Eldon Broadleaf's hut, inside his little shed that's attached to his hut. She seems to sort of be like working away at kind of distilling something. And when she opens the door after hearing you guys knock, you can see she's quite frazzled. Her hair's going everywhere. Sarah, young half-elf girl, speaks very well for her age, but as soon as she in fact, even before the doors open, her shoulders are up and she's looking at you guys. It takes a moment before she even answers the door. It's kind of like a hello? As if like, who would be knocking at this time of night? It's not that late. It's maybe, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening. That she opens the door, looks out. When she sees that it's you guys, she's not surprised. When what do you say to her?
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Ian. Is there
Hello, Miss Sarah. We have a gentleman here we fear may have contracted the plague. Would you be so kind as to administer your whatever you administer to him? Look him over and make sure he is safe.
She takes a glance at Robert, who's kind of standing at the back of you guys. His nose is running, his eyes are red, he's got his shovel kind of slung over his shoulder. He didn't even necessarily know that you guys were coming here. He's just kind of like, following the group loosely along. She takes one look at him, looks him up and down, and she says, "He doesn't have it. I'm sorry, Robert. I'm sorry about Toby. They have a..." She leans in close. They have a look in their eyes when they have it. When the bleeding starts in the gums, it's like a panic. I can see his fingernails are fine. I don't think he's got it. I don't know how his son got it if he doesn't, but just send him home to bed. That's the best thing for him, or wherever he's staying. I heard on the grapevine that he got kicked out, but just put him to bed.
Sarah, was there anything of note about Tobias's case? Was there anything strange? I don't really want to get into the details of it. They're often gruesome, but he's having visions of his son, and I just want to know if that's anything that's been come up before, or if he has anything wrong with him we might want to address otherwise.
No, I mean, when Toby died, and you guys kind of, as you're talking to her, Toby would have only been a few years, maybe 2-3 years younger than Sarah. So probably kind of her generation, generation's the right word. I got it in one. So the way that she's talking is very shrugged up, very slow. So there's a sadness to it when she talks about Toby, and she says, I didn't look him over much myself. He was one of the early ones to contract the plague, and he passed away before Eldon disappeared, and I started looking into it myself. So I don't know about anything strange to do with his particular case. But Robert's not the only one, like this. The sadness in town, it's really affecting everyone, and he's he's not the only one that's been seeing people come back, or at least saying that they've been seeing it. It's just getting into everybody's head, I guess, this whole blood spittle thing.
Sarah, all the people who have died from the plague, have they been buried in the graveyard?
Yeah, they've all been taken to the graveyard or down into the barrows.
Oh, okay, we buried them in the... Okay, I forgot that we buried them in the barrows as well.
Well, I know it's, meant only for dignitaries most of the time, or, family members, and she kind of gestures to you, family members of one of the old families, but we've had to make room and exceptions, I think.
Growing, yes.
Yeah, so mostly the graveyard.
Sarah, I fear that there may be some danger in the woods. Would you be able to pretend in some way that you need to keep Mr. Robert here so that he does not get hurt in whatever we end up doing?
Robert, can you smile at me? And he kind of like turns his head towards bloodshot eyes, shovel on his shoulder, and he seems puzzled at first, but then realizes the request, and he opens his mouth. It's kind of like a dog's grin. It's like that real, rictus grin as he shows his teeth. And she looks at him. She goes, "Oh, look at so much. Yeah, you should go to the town hall maybe." And he's not.
Robert, you don't look very good. Maybe you should sit this one out.
Make a deception check.
You need to rest.
Just while you're making that check, Solana, are you back with us?
Hello?
Yes.
Hey!
Hey, buddy.
Hey!
Yeah.
Sorry,
Welcome back.
team. Sorry, team. Sorry, stream.
No, that's okay. We're just glad that you could
This
rejoin us.
works. Yeah. Because in total, if I drop out again, I'll probably just... Solanus has gone on a bender. I'm going to assume, okay?
Okay, cool.
That's the canon. If it disconnects again, she's just decided this is all too fucking hard. She's gone on to the bender.
Yeah, she's gone full Beth Sanchez.
Exactly. And hopefully I can do my rolls and stuff, but we'll
Cool. All right, no stress.
just been doing my hair, getting really, dressed up, and I've missed this whole, emotional part that I kind of heard, which is very canon.
Ian got a 13 deception.
Cool. What was the perception check on behalf of Marshall?
Oh, I thought you were telling us all to do it. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. He kind of like looks at you, Ian, shovel on his shoulder, and he just goes, "If I've got it, then what better place for me than the graveyard? Come on, we're wasting time. Let's get digging."
Sarah, by any chance, would you have a spare shovel that we could borrow?
Yeah, of course. She kind of like closes the door to the hut. Not entirely, it's not wide open. Disappears. She's gone for half a second. It would be on the wall right behind her is, the keeper is a gardener as well, and just kind of passes you out this old looking shovel. And then she, just because she's trying to be helpful, pulls another shovel off the wall, and it's just one of those little one-handled, like, gardening shovels, and she just goes, and maybe this as well.
Thank you so much. That's really appreciated, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy I can help in any way.
I'll pass those shovels on to maybe Marshall and Ian. They might want them.
I'm happy to take a trip. Yeah.
As I grab it.
Good, honest work, like digging. It's in my bones. My father was a digger.
What's his name, Doug?
No. He lost his shovel. He became Douglas.
Oh no. Okay. Sorry, Ian. What'd you say?
Boom! Gag.
Should we stop Robert coming along with us, or should we let him?
Look, I think we need Robert to protect the village while we go out. Otherwise, there'll be no one here to protect the village. Robert, you normally do help when we need extra people for the militia. And with everyone sick, there's very few people protecting the village from the savage folk and things like that. Who's going to protect your lovely partner while we're gone?
Make for me a persuasion check.
Let's see where my luck cycle's at right now.
Can I help?
To be honest, as you've already made the persuasion check, an attempt to persuade him, I'd consider that the help. What did we get?
14.
Cool. No stress. He kind of looks at you, smirks and says, I appreciate you trying to humor me, but let's be honest. Barbara, Ian, and Marshall would be the ones better off staying in town if we were actually worried about that happening. I mean, look at him. He's like, 6.5 feet tall, 7 feet tall? Come on. Let's.
Okay.
Be honest, if as Sarah says, if you do have this disease, we don't want you with us.
Then
Be able to protect
stay
the town if we
here.
happen to well.
Then stay here. That's fine. I didn't ask for your help. You know, it's all good. It's all good. You guys and he's like turning around, like walking up the road. You guys just stay, and I'll.
No, Robert, we want you with us, please. Otherwise, we won't feel as safe. I'm sorry. We're all just trying to protect you. We know that you're very sad about your son. Let's go. Let's go.
As we're following out of him, I'm just going to turn to Sarah and go, thank you once again. I guess I didn't realize it before, but grief is quite the debilitating illness too. Yeah. Anyway, have a great
Oh, that's sweet. Grief is a debilitating illness too. You are sweet, Max. You get a tick.
Sarah looks at you and just says, "Thanks, Straylene. Good luck. You know, don't run into any wolves." And like closes the door. As you guys are making your way through the village, Solana catches up with the group. Robert with his shovel, traipsing along with them. How do you approach Solana? What is your grand reintroduction to the group, deciding to go with them after all?
Look, it's going to be very optimistic, very not subtle at the very least, with my loot out, and I'm going to run up to Drylene and say, I'm so sorry. I know we haven't officially met, but I noticed the, musical instruments, and let's be honest, us creatives can see each other. And I heard you've been working on, in what we call in my culture, a banger of a track. And I think I have a really good track too. Maybe we could, collaborate on something.
Yes. Coming out of like the last conversation. Yes. That is something I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I am having some issues with lyrics at the moment, but yes.
Hear what I've come up with. I've got this really good one. It's like a kind of like emotional, kind of like pop track.
If that's the soundtrack we want on marching a man to the grave of his son, then.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't really get context for when I...
Yes, sorry, Solana. I didn't realize. Yes, maybe something a bit more somber would suit the mood.
Solana, I for one would love to hear a track from you that raises our spirits.
Come, Solana, play a banger.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
We could use some motivation in the end. It's all right.
We head forward. Hopefully she'll drop back in a second and continue on to the graveyard. Solana, just for the record, feel free to interrupt me at any point. As you guys travel east of the village, coming into the woods, again, the river wood, quite a beautiful wood by the daytime. At night, it does seem quite oppressive, quite intense. The trees press in very close. Everything goes from that lush green and browns into everything being a sort of dark grey. You move eastward towards the barrows and arrive in the graveyard, which you find... Sorry, I've just realised I'm on the wrong notes myself. Find the graveyard lies only a short distance, as said, east of Woodhaven, hidden among the trees of the forest and barely perceptible from the forest around it. A low, crumbling wall surrounds a forest hill. And you guys can see that there is a winding, narrow dirt trail which leads up the hill. Either side of it, small monuments, tombstones, which mark graves. Some appear very recently dug with still fresh earth sitting atop them. And then further up the rise, the monuments grow in size of the rock cans, to the size of rock cans, supposedly laid by the gnomish progenitors of Woodhaven, and now covered in green moss. The entrance to the barrow itself has a set of shallow stone steps that you can see leading up to a pair of stone doors. As you guys approach further up the path, and can see that the stone doors have the sigil of a golden bark tree kind of engraved on the front of them. These stone doors are a more recent kind of renovation to the barrows, something that would have been done in the last couple of decades, maybe a century ago, just to kind of modernize it. Before that, it might have just been like a stone sitting in front of the entrance or something like that. And as you guys approach, Monty, you do hear sort of the sound of a distant, maybe it's just wind, passing through the halls. You're not really sure. But there sounds like there is some sort of creature, or some sort of cry, I should say, coming from down deep in the barrows. Robert Crick.
Heads up, Paul. And then
Yep.
I think Monty would immediately, on that, just quickly step over to Marshall and Ian. Guys, I think I hear something. Heads up. And then just turn around to Draylene. There's something out here. Something out here tonight.
Marshall,
Everyone,
point or
stop and
rear?
listen.
And could I roll a perception check to get a bit more detail, possibly?
Absolutely, make a perception check for me. Just while you're stopping and listening, Robert takes his shovel. He basically goes to work very quickly. He approaches his son's grave, which you can see looks recently dug, as it has been less than a week or so. And just kind of like mumbling to himself, shoves the head of the shovel down into the dirt, and without hesitation just starts kind of digging away. What did you get on that perception check, Monty?
21. 16 nat plus 5. So 21.
How close do you get to the the door of the barrows?
I think Monty would probably be out in front with the intention of checking out if there are any locks on the doors.
Okay.
Taking that kind of scouting role while we don't have a dedicated ranger.
Cool.
So we're pretty close to be right up there, I think.
Okay, no stress. As you get closer, you can see that the entrance to the barrows is not sealed. It is in fact slightly ajar. And as you listen out for a few moments for that sound coming from deeper inside, you can hear the low rumble of thunder as it rolls across threatening rain. And then just taking a few moments, you hear definitely what sounds like a cry or a murmur. Something in the darkness calling out.
What direction from?
From inside of the barrows. From past
Shit.
the door.
Shall I open this door or close it?
Do we want to see what happens
I
first
think-
when Robert does his grave, and then maybe see what we do?
I
What do you
think-
guys think?
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
kind of
I'll
turn
get
it-
them out.
There's something in there. Stop him digging. Stop him. There's something there.
Robert,
Someone calling out.
Yeah?
I hate to interrupt you, but just we've heard something further down in the barrows. You might have to just pause for the moment, because there's something down there. I don't know what it is, but I would recommend just keeping your wits about you.
Ian, were
Kinda
you
like-
thinking of closing that door, were you?
Either getting it open so we can get in there before the rain hits, or closing it so that whatever's in there doesn't jump out while we're sorting out this grave.
What do you guys want to do?
I think
Did Robert stop?
Robert.
He kind of like looks back at you guys. You can see he's crying as he's doing it, as he's attempting to dig up this grave. He's only gotten a few shovels through. Go ahead, Marshall, sorry.
I was just going to say, is it all right if I help him dig? I've got a shovel.
If you approach and help him dig, then he will definitely start to dig again and kind of not pay much heed to what Draylene or anybody else is saying. Is that what you want to do, or do you want him to stop as well?
No, I'm interested in seeing what's down there.
Okay.
Well, unless other members of the party, are insistent, hey, stop.
Go ahead, Draylene.
I think we need to know if that body is in there. Maybe we could temporarily close that door to the burrows while we dig the rest of the grave and see what's in there. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, can Monty check out the door? Is it locked? Is it closed? Is it just a big opening?
It is open. So as Monty walks up and peers next to it, it's 2 stone doors. They are definitely ajar. They're not closed entirely. Not far enough, like you'd have to get up and stick your head around the corner between the doors to be able to see onto the other side. It's not like they're wide open, but you can definitely hear that sound coming out through the gap in them. Yes, Draylene?
I was just wondering, are there any other graves around? Like, I can't see any on the map right here. Are they further south?
So the graves, looking at the map, they would be basically those kind of brown kind of mounds, remembering that a lot of them are fresh, kind of like dirt mounds. Not all of them are marked with stones necessarily either. This is a very old graveyard, so and one that has its origins as a gnomish graveyard. So you might see some, as you can see on the map, some sort of more typical sarcophaguses or tombstones, but you might also just see like a boulder that's placed down as the head of a tombstone as well. The other thing that's worth quickly mentioning is that these sarcophaguses, they're used to kind of mark the area, but they're not actually enclosed, and no one would be buried in a coffin. This is because they want basically the body to decompose and go back to being part of the earth and part of the forest as quickly as possible. Go ahead, Draylene. You based on that, what did you want to do?
I just wanted to just stand in front of an unmarked grave, probably because I won't find the one I'm looking for. But
cool, no stress.
Just stand there and take a minute. Yeah.
Cool.
And then return to the group once that's done.
Ian will move over to the doors.
Cool.
Yeah, I think
Ian approaches
Monty
the
will
door.
stay behind. Stand next to Ian next to the doors and probably pull out a bow.
Okay.
And go yell at Marshall. Yeah, go and check it out. Take a look. We'll be here waiting.
Ian will get the torch that he's holding and try and poke it through the crack and see if he can see something inside beyond the doors without actually going through them.
Okay.
Do you want me to cast light inside the burrows?
Oh yes, that would be very good. Thank you, Zanzibar.
I'll cast light on the pebble and throw it into the entrance.
Okay. The pebble kind of clacks around without actually sticking your head inside of there. What you can see basically boils down to kind of what looks like a small or a low-ceilinged cave. A lot of like the smell of dust kind of coming out at you, and as that pebble kind of flies through the air and hits the walls on the inside and hits the floor and kind of clacks around. It is a very kind of hollow sound. It is a very, expecting something to happen, just nothing does. You can see on the opposite kind of walls, peering through the entranceway or peering between the doors, bricks which are embedded into the wall with names inscribed onto them. These basically where people are entombed behind the brick. They basically, put them in horizontally and then place the brick in front of them to mark where they were placed. None of these seem disturbed or anything at this point. Make a perception check for me, Ian, as you're quite close, trying to strain and hear what's happening inside. While this is happening, meanwhile, Marshall and Robert just continuing to This is going to be... It was a what, sorry?
5.
Okay. Nothing jumps out at you, literally or figuratively. As you stand there listening, you don't hear what Monty says to have heard. You can hear maybe some wind passing through, and you can tell that the halls of the barrow are deep. It's not just this next chamber, they probably go on for a bit, but you don't hear a cry, a wail, anything like that standing where you are. The task that Robert and Marshall have set themselves to, between the two of them, it's still, to get 3 to 6 feet down where the boy is buried is going to take some time. It's up to you guys whether you would wait around to see what would happen or whether you would push onwards or have some other plan.
Without any
in
obvious
mind.
threat, Ian will also help to dig if we're going to see what's in the grave.
Cool, no stress. You move over to the grave and start to dig as well.
I do hope we finish digging before this impressive sounding thunder and thunderstorm arrives. It is very impressive thunder, by the way.
You think you should do, assuming that you work quickly. You think that you've got a little bit of time. It sounds like it is far off. What was somebody going to say something then that I interrupted?
Yeah, sorry, I was me interrupting you. I was saying, I think Monty would basically just take the post, looking through the crack where Zanzibar's thrown in the light, the light stone, with the bow drawn, and just listening carefully while the others dig.
Okay, no stress. You guys continue to...
I do also notice while there is work to be done, Solana has gone off, vanished again. Of course, whenever there's work, Solana disappears. Maybe she is scouting area, yes?
Unfortunately, that is true. It seems like Solana has sadly and regrettably done the full Beth Sanchez. I feel like I shouldn't have said that. That was almost, foreshadowing. Said that, and she appears again. It's weird. It's like we said her name too many times, which is a good thing. Gone. As you guys are digging this grave, time does pass. It does kind of start to spit a little bit of rain. Not too heavy. Not so much that you feel like you're going to fill up the grave as you've dug it. But definitely, just a little bit of rain starting to pour down. And then eventually, after maybe 20 minutes between the three of you, you become very careful with the shovel, knowing that, again, you're not going to hit a coffin, you're going to hit a person if you dig too sort of, too enthusiastically. And then eventually you do... Sorry, go ahead.
I think you'll step back and let Robert do that last little bit. It's his son.
Okay. He gets down almost like a weird archaeologist with the small hand shovel that Sarah gave you and starts quite frantically, but at the same time trying to be careful, shoveling around until you guys do see what appears to be the shape of a person kind of coming out of that grave. He digs around, he starts to use his hands and brush dirt and dust off the face. And you do see, indeed, lying in the barrow appears to be a young boy. You can see that the burial shroud in which he's wrapped has kind of come loose, possibly from the digging, you're not quite sure, but it kind of veils half of his face and exposes the other half. You can see that he is slightly swollen, as is expected from, early onset decay. And the body smells terribly. But Robert doesn't seem to notice. He just kind of pulls his son out, pulling him out by the shoulders, out of the dirt. Doesn't get him the whole way out. The son's still, partially covered in dirt, and hugs him, kind of pulls him in very close, pulls his head against his own, and starts weeping. And you hear him crying, rocking back and forth. My boy, it's okay. It's okay, you can wake up now.
I'll walk over and give his shoulders a hug. without
Okay.
sort of interfering with his son, who's like I think also kind of over his shoulder as well a little bit.
Yeah, no stress. You kind of come around. You can reach down into the grave, and he's not that far down. Touch his shoulder. He rocks there back and forth, sort of silently for a few moments. And then, right when it seems like nothing is going to happen, Tobias Crick's eye does open. And when you see it flick open, it is so terribly bloodshot that there is no white left on the rest of the eye. You can see that his lips, swollen as they are, curl back and show teeth. But these teeth are not that of a young boy. They are sharp, needle-like, fill his whole head, and as he starts to distend his jaw, you see those teeth start to push outwards. Robert doesn't notice this until... Cool. Can I get everybody to roll for initiative?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say I'd started making my way over. I'm not there completely, I don't think, but once they'd finally took him out, I'd gotten up from my spot.
Cool, no stress.
Yeah.
Let us go into Astral. We will roll, Avray, I should say. We will roll initiative to see.
That's not your son.
Oh, I think I need to start a combat. Just wait half a moment. Combat begin.
Can I scam for a surprise round, given that I've got a bow out already? He's got a bow out already.
Sure.
Although I
Make
suppose I'll probably...
You are a distance from the grave itself, but I'll get you to make a perception check just in case, something jumps out of elsewhere. Do we have our initiative coming up? We do. 23.
20, nat 20 on perception.
Damn.
So I'll take that.
Cool.
Gotta remember how to join the combat, which is the in-it join. So 25 perception.
Cool.
And 20 on the initiative.
Okay, cool. No stress. Let me just... So I'm taking manual initiative. This is partly because I struggled with Avray last week myself, and also so I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth up and down. So that will put him... That will be... Then we will have... Bear with me, people. Our human rogue is Monty. Then we have Marshall. Then we have Zanzibar. Then we have, last but certainly not least, Barbara Ian. Draylene, you are the first, as you've kind of...
Oh my! I only just got Barbara Ian, like after weeks. I've only just gotten that.
Oh no.
Well,
Very-
better late than never.
It's well played, though. It's well played.
Better late than ever. Cool. So, Draylene, as you have come wandering over, hearing Robert's cries, you can hear the boy start to struggle and start to move. You guys can see he is, in fact, not restrained inside of his shroud at all, and just with a very quick arm pushes it sideways and see those teeth turn towards his father's head, who's holding him close, having not noticed it yet. What would you like to do, Draylene?
Well, I've been crying quite a bit, so tears stream from my eyes. If there is enough space, if there isn't, I won't do this. But I'd like to just take my rapier out and just try and like pierce straight through the back of the neck, or the side of the neck, if that is permittable. Just run around and just with like a bit of a.
Yep. Make an attack roll for me.
Go. That's an 8 to hit.
8 does not hit as you come running around to strike the boy, seeing him turn towards his father. Hearing your sudden footsteps, the kind of crunch, 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 crunch around, the Father Robert turns his head to see you, sees the weapon out, and not understanding what's happening, kind of throws himself in the way of the weapon. He's not like taking the bullet for the kid, but doing that, it blocks your attack and you are unable to follow through and hit, unfortunately. Is there anything else that you want to do on your turn?
Yes, I will. I'll grab around the back of my shoulder, and there's my, I think it's 12-string mandolin, and I just grip it and just tense a bit. The strings glow, and I throw this bolt of energy into Marshall, and I give him bardic inspiration.
Cool, no stress. Marshall becoming bardically inspired. As that happens, the boy cries out from the grave. You see him rise up, grab his father with his claws, which is going to hit. Grabs his father. Robert doesn't really understand what's going on. Looks down, sees the child's face. All too late, unfortunately, with a critical hit as the kid pulls him downwards, opens up that maw, and you see him just bite into Robert's face. There is a huge spray of blood which kind of sprays everywhere. Robert starts to scream, but his own screams are kind of muffled. You just hear as he's inside the maw of his son, who rips backwards, and you see him pull off a massive chunk, including his father's jaw, which just goes with him inside of the boy's teeth, which you see the boy grab with his other hand and start to just and just rip the flesh off of, even getting to the point where he starts to snap the bone. Bringing us in the initiative order to Monty. What would you like to do?
Cool. So does Monty... Well, first of all, with the perception, did I hear anything? The perception of 25.
You look around yourself inside of the graveyard. Obviously, nothing else has jumped out, so there's no like surprise round that occurred or anything like that. As you're looking around, expecting sort of bodies to start crawling out from other graves and stuff like that, the graveyard, except for the screaming that's coming from Tobias Crick's grave, does not occur anywhere else.
Right. Fair enough. Then, if that's not occurring anywhere else, can I use a bonus action to use Monty's Insightful Fighting?
Yes.
And the Insightful Fighting, for those that don't know it, I can make an insight check against a creature that I can see that's like incapacitated against their deception check. If I succeed, I can use my sneak attack. So, even though I don't have necessarily advantage.
That's
so
alright.
I'm going to go for a check on insight.
Yep, cool. Deception check to contest it. Ooh. How did you go on the inside?
15 on the inside.
As you come rushing over, I've just moved your token downwards so that it is closer to where the fighting is occurring. Once you get there, you just can't sort of visually see enough. You can see the boy thrashing around, you can see his father thrashing around, but as he is slightly concealed from sight, just so you understand mechanically, he rolled a higher deception check. You're unable to kind of draw enough information to be able to pin him down with the Insightful Fighting this turn.
It's alright, I'll still notch and shoot with the short bow.
Okay, make an attack roll.
18 hit.
That does hit. Go for damage.
With a 4 for damage.
Cool, no stress. Which will bring him down to that. And seeing that it is inside of the grave, you know, you don't have a clear line of sight necessarily. What are you aiming for?
I'm aiming, ideally, for like one of its arms so it can not get a grip on, well, hopefully drop the jaw, I guess, as much as anything else, not to get a grip on anyone else.
Cool. As you fire at its arm, you kind of take the shot as it's rising itself up out of the grave, holding the jaw in one hand. The arrow goes straight through the forearm. The creature cries out in sudden pain, but he does not drop the jaw. He just kind of like lowers his arm, almost ignores the arrow. It's like the initial pain is present for him, but then he just ignores that it's even in him, changes his eye, kind of like where he's looking towards you, and seems to ignore everyone else around him in doing so. You can see that his chin dribbling with the blood of his father still. Does that end your turn there?
It does.
Cool, bringing us to Marshall.
Does it still attacking the father? Like generally, is it still attacking the father?
No, it looks like it's kind of like Robert has gone limp. He's stopped moving, and it has risen as it's kind of like rising up out of the grave, still trying to chew on this jawbone. That's when it gets hit by the arrow, turns its head, and now it seems like it is aware of the rest of you.
All right. Turn around, pick up my longsword, and go double-handed on the beggar. Let's ride.
Cool, make an attack roll.
Yeah, just to advise, I'll have to re-roll the damage that it comes up because I'm using it double-handed.
Cool, that's no stress.
What do we got? All right, 11 to hit.
Does not hit. This dude is quick. As you grab the longsword in two hands, make a swipe down at this dude. He kind of sees you out of the corner of his eye and then moves to the side.
Can I use my bardic inspiration on top of that?
Sure, why not? I was pretty quick on the...
Yay!
Do it.
Yeah, thanks for that bardic inspiration, by the way. 1d6. We're adding that to it. We'll fall up then.
As inspired as you are, that still does not hit with a 1 on the bardic inspiration. This creature is incredibly quick, and you are increasingly telling that he is not, as much as he may appear so, a 15, 16-year-old boy. Darts to the side, avoids the blow, and then you can see he kind of turns his gaze towards you, a low growl kind of coming out of his throat as he considers everyone around him. That will bring us to...
Trilene, this is your fault. You should sing better.
I apologize. Shaking.
Are you going
Be more inspiring.
Are you going to stay where you are?
Screaming down my eyes, by the way. Sorry, DM.
No, that's all good. Are you going to stay where you are, or do you want to try and move away from it?
Is that Marshall or?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That was Marshall.
No, I'm happy to. I'm
Stay
happy
with
to
it?
stick into the fight. Yeah, I'm going to hang
Cool.
about.
No stress. Zanzibar standing on the other side. As you were quite close, Zanzibar, you are within melee range of this thing.
Yep. Can I disengage without him getting an attack of opportunity?
You can, but it uses your action to do so.
I will do that.
Okay, cool.
I just move a few steps away.
Yep. 10 feet to there.
Maybe just one more.
Cool. No
I think I
stress.
need to do 25 feet. Sorry,
Yeah,
guys. I'm not the strongest one here, I'm afraid. I'm a
Cool.
petite little.
No, that's your job there.
That's all right.
What's
let the dwarf and let Ian take the full brunt of this thing.
what's going through your head as you back away, Zanzibar?
Absolute horror. My character has, despite our adventures recently, has lived a sheltered life, and this is the worst thing that she's ever seen.
Okay, cool.
I'm horrified. I'm also deeply grossed out too.
Okay, cool. It is, viscerally disgusting what you are looking down into. That will bring us to Ian. Slow on the reaction, but heavy on the hit, let's hope.
Yeah, bends down and grabs this creature by the shoulders.
Mhm.
Just goes, "Get Robert to safety!" As he kind of just like, you see him start to get swole, bonus action rage. And I just want to pick this thing up so that it can't reach anyone else at the moment.
Okay.
And just like hold it a few feet above the ground in a grapple.
Make an athletics check for me. You have advantage because of the rage.
Right. 18 total.
Cool. You definitely managed to get it in a grapple. Do you want to, just mechanically so it's away from other people, as you said, you wanted to move it out of their melee range. Do you want to, like, physically drag it away?
I'll pull it up out of the pit. I just want to keep it off the ground.
Okay. Cool.
And yeah, I'll step away so that if someone wants to come in and put it out of its misery or question it briefly, they have an opportunity.
Okay, cool. No stress. You grab onto this thing and pull him up out of the grave, drag it backwards. Its legs kind of kicking, and its attention kind of goes onto you as you're grabbing hold of it. Bringing us back up to Draylene. What would you like to do, Draylene, on your turn? Looks like he stepped away for a second. That's all right. We will circle back around to him. As you have grappled it, this thing turns its attention around to you and goes for an attack roll against you, Barbarian. Third attack roll is going to hit, and it is going to do a total of 9 halved to 4 points of slashing damage as it reaches forward for you, attempting to claw at your eyes. As it attempts to do that, it's kind of John Connor versus the Terminator, just that slow kind of like scratch through as you manage to hold it at bay. Probably a little more than a flesh wound for our mighty barbarian, but continues to kind of flail at you. Ends its turn, bringing us to Monty. Sorry, let's jump back to Draylene because we had just gone past Draylene's turn.
Apologies, yeah, I had some issues.
All good.
I would like to cast Suggestion. Am I able to do that if the creature is hostile?
Yes, you are. I think it gets advantage on its save.
I know that's with Charm Person. I'm not sure if it's the same with Suggestion, but we'll see.
Oh, no, it's not the same with Suggestion, actually. I remember this spell. The end of whole dungeons, this spell can be. Cool. Yes, all right. Let's say that you can, yes.
Okay. I would like to put 2 fingers to my neck and just like press against the side of my throat, and it glows, and then I speak outwards and I suggest that this creature lays down prone.
Okay, sure. As you suggest that, the creature, as it's like clawing out for Ian, it stops quite suddenly, and then you see it kind of like look wildly around itself for a few moments, just its silhouette looking like that of a young boy. Looks around itself and then begins to kick its legs again and start thrashing once again. This time, though, its attention is not on Ian. Its attention is on the ground where it is being lifted up from, and you can see that it's kind of, you know, like when a cat or a dog wants to be put down and it just like extends its legs outwards, like, let me down, stop carrying me around. That's basically what this thing starts doing as it's like thrashing, yeah, exactly, trying to get to the ground. This young boy just like, trying to get down, put downwards.
While Suggestion was like, that was just like really short, it was probably more flavored as, it's time to return. Get back into the grave, sort of thing. Yeah.
Cool. All right. No stress. That will bring us to Monty.
Love. Can I use some sort of investigation check to know anything about what this creature is? Or is there a chance that Monty's seen something like this before?
You could make a couple of different checks. You could make an investigation check to try to figure out what it is based on your observations of it. You could make a religion check or a history check to try to learn about it, via lore and things that you have learned through reading. Or an arcana check. This is obviously some sort of magical creature, so an arcana check may also be applicable. You can choose basically out of those 4. You tell me which one you're going to use, and I might tell you something slightly different. Are you planning to use your action to attack this turn?
That's right. So I was going to use my eye for detail, which gives me a bonus action investigation check.
Yeah.
Which is why I was suggesting that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
If the target is prone, is that advantage at melee attacks?
It is, but it's currently not prone because it can't be, because it's being held up by Barbarian.
I think I missed that when I had that connection issues. That's all right.
Cool. Do I need to make some sort of save against it?
No, it's just I can do a perception check to spot a hidden creature or object, or to make an investigation check to uncover or decipher clues. So with a 13, it's up to you.
Cool, no stress.
Dear Ben. Kindly Dungeon Master.
Cool. Sorry, the reason I'm pausing, I'm just quickly reading suggestion. I'm trying to remember if it gets to the save again, if it takes damage. I can't see that it's... if you or any of your companions... Okay, cool. So just so you know, if you do damage it, the suggestion spell ends and it can go back to doing whatever it wants to. With a 13 investigation check, you look at this thing... You can see, the thing that jumps out at you is that you can still see the signs of the blood spittle plague on this kid's body. You can see that he has, holes in his skin and erosions and things where he was forming up abscesses and things like that. You can see that his fingers, where he has claws, it's not his fingernails, it's that the fingernails, and just from like scratching or digging, have been so worn down that it's just the bones at the tips of his fingers instead. You also note something else about the way that this thing moves around. There's just something slightly off about it. It's not like it's moving under its own power. It almost looks like it's, puppeteered. When the suggestion spell hit it and you observed that, and it's clawing for Ian's face, it's sort of like, rah, 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 and then just like goes dead like a puppet, and then reanimates again and starts trying to claw its way to the ground as if, the magic of the suggestion is interfering with something else. That's not to say that, you think there's some battery source or something behind this thing, but it is definitely an undead creature, if you didn't put that, together already. It is likely some sort of... From your lore and your understanding of, like, a zombie, you don't think it's that, because zombies are supposed to be slow and directionless and kind of bump off of things, This thing is moving quite quickly and quite erratically and quite frantically. You saw it dodge out of the way of the sword earlier, of Marshall's attack, so you can see that it is agile and it moves with purpose. This must be, you're suspecting, some sort of ghoul. To your lore, ghouls being creatures that have come in contact with necromantic energies or vampiric blood.
Cool. All right. Well, I think on that note, I think I'd yell out, "Ian, hold it steady!" And then I'd pull the bow and shoot the bow into the body again. I realise the suggestion will break, but I think being undead, it's not going to last and really not going to help us very much anyway.
Cool. Make an attack roll.
So I'm just go to... And if I miss, well...
The suggestion will last. Yay! It's win-win.
Then someone else
Exactly.
can
And
make
happily...
Oh, that's
Happily.
me! Don't shoot me!
Sorry, Ian! Just hold it more still next time.
He's trying to get on the ground.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Unfortunately,
No, maybe-
a 7 is not enough to hit. Go ahead.
Well, maybe just let it go prone and then sit on it.
I just don't want to let go of it.
That's an idea.
Marshall, what would you like to do on your turn?
Oh, okay. So does it look like it's no longer trying to attack? It's trying to get down.
Yeah, that is indeed what it looks like is happening.
I'd like to, if possible, say to the group, someone see to Robert, then step forward, ready in action to attack it if it does, with the trigger, it doing anything offensive.
Okay, cool. No stress. Gotcha.
While also saying, in dwarven culture, a son respects his father. He does not try to eat his face.
Zanzibar, what would you like to do on your turn?
Is Robert still alive?
You can approach to look into the grave and see.
So Zanzibar, knew that things were getting worse, so she had been exchanging some rare tomes on botany with Edith, because who better to teach fighting magic and other types of magic than Edith, let's face it.
Mhm.
So she had been exchanging some tomes from her library with Edith for some magic. So the first thing she'll do is she'll, if she can, she'll walk over and see if Robert's still alive.
Cool. 5, 10, 15. As you look down into the grave, it is dark down there. Presumably you guys have some torches around. But when you look down, all you see is Robert kind of like slumped face down in the grave. He's not moving, and you can see just the pool of blood continuing to, get bigger and bigger out from underneath where his head is. You do not suspect that he is alive.
Zanzibar, is it worth healing him?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to have any lessons with Edith on healing. I was going to perhaps try and stabilize him, but it looks like it's too late. So I will channel a spell that Edith has recently taught me, a fighting spell, and you see me trying to really sort of tap into that fighting spirit that I see in Edith. And some lightning sort of forms on the tips of my fingers and crackles towards the zombie, the child, and I cast Witch Bolt.
Cool. Make an attack roll.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember Avray having issues with Witch Bolt. Go a d20 plus your spellcasting attack bonus.
Yep.
Cool, 16. That will definitely hit with a d12 for the damage.
So that's only 3 damage, I'm afraid.
Cool,
But
no,
my
that's all right.
character is satisfied that she has been successful in casting this new spell, and very very sad time to be doing it. But she has been successful and is satisfied with that.
Okay, cool. You cast the Witch Bolt out. What does it look like when you cast it, and what kind of
It's a crackling blue energy. It almost resembles the lightning that surrounds us at this time.
Okay, cool. You cast out that spell as the energy explodes outwards from you. And as it does so, impacts into the back of the creature, which still being held up by Barber Ian. You see it as the energy hits it. It kind of like thrashes around where it is. Its head snaps up, and then it looks like it is freed from the suggestion and ready to attack again. Do you want to, Marshall? You've got your held action. It can't attack until it gets around to its turn. You'd get your reaction then, but I'll give you the option because it does look like it is freed and looks like it's about to go back into full zombie mode. Do you want to make your attack now?
So sorry.
Sounds good to me.
Realize, that my character didn't understand the magic of bards and didn't realize what had happened.
All good.
All good.
I don't understand either. I have to admit, though, I really like the way that you explained all those. You got a tick.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate ticks when they're not real ones. Just paper ones, yes.
No idea what the ticks actually mean, but you got a tick. Attack longsword.
Cool. 11 does not hit. As you swing the sword, this thing just kicks out its leg and knocks the sword back away from itself. It doesn't seem like it's not like the most jujitsu. Man, I mangled that word. The most kind of like martial arty defense that the ghoul has. In fact, the bottom of the sword even cuts into its foot a little bit, but it doesn't seem like it's doing the most amount of damage swinging with the sword. That was your reaction. Sorry, go ahead.
Is there what's the Avray command for get another die? This one seems to be shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not that either.
Zanzibar, did you want to end your turn there? Did you want to move? You've still got a little bit of movement. Did you want to move back away from it?
Yeah, I will move a couple of steps back because my character is convinced that Robert is dead.
Okay, cool. No stress. Let me just steal the mouse very temporarily. Sorry, Dante, as you were. Bringing us to Ian.
It's thrashing around right in my
It
arm
is, yeah.
still, and now it's gone full berserk again.
Yeah.
So Ian tries to put it on the ground and just squish its head, I guess.
Okay. Make for me. Is this just like an unarmed kind of smash on the ground attack, like Hulk smash
Yeah,
attack?
just kind of like, and just like turn it upside down, like jam its head on the ground, and then like just put a boot on it and try and just smush it.
Okay, make for me strength plus proficiency in Ray. D20 plus strength plus proficiency.
I'll just do athletics because that's equivalent.
Yep, exactly. Perfect.
16.
Cool. Let's call that a hit. Let's do, with a 16, let's do a D6 plus strength of damage.
Eight.
Cool. As you smash it into the ground, head first it goes down. That'll bring it down to that much. As you smash the head down, it thuds into the ground. You hear it once again cry out as that thud kind of occurs. And when you bring it back up, you can see that the head, you heard like the head snap go sideways, scrape off like the dirt and the rocks in the ground, scrape off half of this thing's face. Its arm, one of its arms looks like it's broken and just kind of like hanging there as you lift it back up again. And you can see that it is severely damaged by that. But as the head hangs there, the neck clearly broken, it continues to thrash with its other arm. This thing should definitely be dead. Like, there is no reason.
Won't you die? Ugh.
Anything else you want to do? Do you want to drag it further away or keep it where it is?
I'll leave it in good reach of everyone else.
Kill, bringing us to Draylene, who has, right at the perfect moment, stepped away once again. That is okay. We will... Oh, wait. He's back.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'd like to flank around behind Marshall and just try and get another just right through the middle of the chest, sort of like, and then if I make it, try and push it in further with my second hand.
Cool.
Just maybe I'll make that attack.
Yeah, make an attack roll.
Nice.
That's an 18.
Cool. 18 does hit. 6 for the piercing damage. As describe for me again what the attack looks like as it hits.
So I'm pretty emotionally racked at the moment, but I'm gonna get my rapier, just try and pierce it into the chest of Tobias, and sensing that resistance, I grab my second hand and just try and force it further in, like out through the other side of its chest.
Cool, no stress. As you force the rapier in through this thing, it continues to thrash around, and then as you push it deeper in, the creature screams, cries out, and then again, just like a puppet having its strings cut, just goes limp in Ian's hands, the sword coming out the other side of it.
Ew.
Is it dead?
Poke
He's
with my
already
toe.
dead.
Not sure,
Twice.
but may I make a suggestion that we change our culture from burials to cremations?
Great, that's my exact thought, Marshall.
Cremations can be very damaging on the environment.
We can worry about.
Well, I'm more concerned about the damage for us.
This
Oh,
thing
right,
is
right,
very
here it
damaging
is.
to me, so I'd rather the fire burny type, reduced to a pile of ash. That's better.
So
Robert, how is Robert?
yeah, I'm about to say, let's check Robert just in case he is still alive.
One of these guys check Robert.
Yeah.
My dearest
No,
Mars,
go ahead.
Do you have any sort of special healing properties in your mysterious magic?
I do, but is he even alive? Is it even worth it?
I can go over and I'll go over and try and do a medicine check, despite how stomach churning the situation is.
Cool. You approach over towards the grave. Monty, what was it you were doing in the meantime?
I was going to say, well, I think there are more down there, and so Monty's immediately going to go straight back to that doorway. And I think at this point, Monty, with a torch, is going to force it and stick his head through, just to have a quick look and see if he can see anything Nearby.
Zanzibar, I'm gonna help you with the check to see if he's alive if I can. If you want to roll with
Oh,
that.
thank you. I'll try and I'm not sure how successful I was with 13, so thank you with your help. I'll try again.
Yeah, go
Ian,
for
do
it.
you want to help me with this door?
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Your help made all the difference. I rolled 20 this time.
So yeah, just like poking at the body, not trying to get too near. I'm quite grossed out. But yeah.
As you guys approach the body down in the grave, you really do not need a medicine check to see. As you flip him around, you can see that just the entire kind of like lower part of his face has been torn outwards. Even his tongue looks like it came flying out as well. And you can see that there is a lot of blood in the grave. His eyes still kind of like horribly stuck in that shocked expression. But you do not think that he can be resuscitated or saved. He is almost certainly dead already.
Gentlemen, do you think that and ladies, do you think we should give poor Robert a cremation and then bury him? Do
Maybe
we have
later.
time right now? Okay.
I think it probably would at least be best to, this is difficult to say, but remove his limbs so that he will not follow us. And we should be getting all the bodies from the tomb onto a pyre. I recommend we all go in to collect these bodies while our friend Solana creates a pyre for us out here.
There is one thing I'd like to do before we go in.
Sure.
I'd like to head over to that grave that I was at before.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to just stand over it with the rapier and just say, goodbye, Ebion. You were always the better lyricist. Shunk. Just straight through, see if I can pierce whatever's there.
Cool. You bury the blade, it goes through the dirt, and then standing up, when you turn around, you can see that Monty has already opened the door into the crypt. And Monty, I'm assuming, unless you tell me otherwise, stepping in to see what is inside.
Just
also-
straight through the entrance.
Yeah, cool.
Essentially not out of sight of.
Everybody else? Yeah, no stress.
Yeah.
We can even assume that this other door gets swung inwards as well. Monty's currently carrying a torch. Is anybody else?
Yep.
My
Way up,
character,
Monty.
Zanzibar pulls out a torch, but rather than lighting it with fire, she actually lights it with light.
Cool. All right, no stress.
I want to
As
go-
you
She
guys...
also casts mage armor on herself as well.
All right, no stress. That is easy done. What does it look like when you cast mage armor?
It's kind of like I've got like scales on me, scales of colorful light, like a harlequin color across my body.
Cool, no stress. As you
Now,
guys...
Draylene, do you think you might need that sword you left over in the dirt to possibly defend yourself in the coming moments?
I look at him really strangely for a second, then go to my side, realize I've left it in the grave, and...
You can use this if you want, and I pull
No,
out my...
it's fine. Yes, I'll go get it.
Pick up your sword,
Yeah.
come hurrying back. As you...
My
Monty-
friends, do not go in alone. Let me go first. Let me go first. The village. I have been sworn to protect the people of this village. Let me go in first, in case there is any danger here.
As you...
Happy to let you do so, Marshall. Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. That's okay.
Happy
As
to let you do so, Marshall.
Inevitable.
The delay. We love it.
Internet. Was there anything you wanted to add, Monty, before I cut you off again?
You're on a good man.
All right, cool. No stress. As you guys...
I would just like to say, I'd like the GM to continue talking. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, cool. No stress. As you guys step into...
We won't let the delay keep you from talking any longer.
All right, excellent. Good to know.
Yeah, you just go ahead.
I cast Ray of Frost.
Sorry.
Stepping into the next chamber, you guys can see that inside of the barrow, as mentioned before, it's a low-ceilinged cave smelling of dust. The thing that jumps out at you is opposite the entrance to the cave is a large boulder that has been carved into a crude monument, which takes the shape of a gnome's grinning face. Perhaps intended to appear as welcoming, in the darkness of the barrow, the ancient carving appears ghastly, although the earthen walls around you are embedded with small bricks bearing the names of those interred here. The dates go back many centuries, and on either side of the gnome's grinning face, you guys can see the steps that kind of go downwards deeper into the crypt. I'm going to move Draylene up with the rest of the group, and then we will continue onwards, unless you guys tell me anything different.
Is this anyone you know, Zanzibar?
Yes, there's a couple of Pumpernickel's third cousins there. They're known as the Zucchini Summers. They're third cousins.
Any necromancies or lictures in your family line?
No, I'm afraid I'm actually the first one to show any kind of magic at all. We're normally a trading family.
Oh, that's good to know. You're
You
very
guys
good
step.
at
No one's died in mysterious circumstances. If there's ever been something wrong, it's a stabbing to the chest rather than to the back.
Oh, that's a relief.
As we're walking through, just whoever's listening, no one in particular, a little shakily. Have you guys lost much before? Anyone to this plague or anything?
Oh yeah, my life's a right shithouse sometimes.
Well, yes. Let me just say I have a newfound empathy that I didn't think I had before. I'm sorry for...
I think Monty will be walking along with the short bow just pointed over the top of the marshal's head as we continue down the corridor.
I've kind of assumed a little bit of a marching order here, but you guys can tell me if it's any different. Cool. I'm going to assume that this is it then. As you guys...
I'll go at the very back with the barber in front of me.
Yeah, no stress.
I smile gratefully at Ian for taking the vulnerable back spot, and wish my character was more bold of spirit than it is.
Cool.
For the record, and before I forget it, with the last map, kudos to the Arkenforge team for that butterfly. I actually really like that cute little butterfly that was hanging around. Nice little touch. Thanks, Arkenforge team.
Thanks, Arkenforge. Yeah. As you guys continue on, there is a single sort of narrow passage to begin with until you come to this very kind of branch in the corridors. The northern tunnel, as you kind of stop and look in that direction, you can see that it is much straighter and much narrower. The stones placed in the floor to mark the way appear more modern in their design. It is fairly easy to ascertain that this is the direction of the more frequently recently used parts of the barrow. And approaching it, Monty, you can smell, just like it strikes you as a little bit odd, just the smell of like burnt charcoal or something coming from that direction. As you guys turn your direction to the southern corridor, you can see that it is wider, roughly hewn. The stone steps leading downwards are uneven and sunken into the dirt. This obviously leads down to a much older part of the barrow. And as you guys are standing there, almost unmistakably, you hear a distant cry coming up from that direction. And the sound of sort of shuffling movement. What do you wish to do?
What's going on?
My recommendation is to stop for a moment and let us listen and see if anything comes towards us. And I don't want to stay exactly where I am. I want to step out a little bit so we've got some more room to have a few more people wandering around. I don't want to block people up. Yeah, that sounds about good.
Sure.
I'll follow suit.
I assume
Cool.
Ian's fairly hunched over in general, so...
You are definitely in here as well. Like, this barrow like I said, the doors on the front of it are probably like a more recent renovation of the last century or so. And even in here, this initial tunnel that you're going through is very, very narrow. They were, fundamentally designed for gnomes. Pardon me. So the only person who's probably really comfortable in here is Zanzibar, and everybody else is to some degree kind of hunched up, whether it's because they're, the walls are too close or the ceiling is too low as you push your way through. That said, it has been widened over the years, and you suspect that the tunnel that leads south is probably more likely, like a natural cave that was found and then opened up rather than something that was dug. Just quick interruption. I have a public service announcement. Arkenforge recommends Marshall continuing with what you were saying before, as they are bribable with compliments. Just an FYI.
Oh yeah, okay, yep, sweet. Well, that's one of the things I expected about Arkenforge, because they are mercenary in nature, and I love mercenaries. Mercenaries are great.
Gotta be careful what you wish for, Dante.
I am thinking that we should maybe go north for a moment, for that will be smaller, and I do not want anything coming from behind us.
Good idea.
I think the south. It is my keen dwarven understanding of underground structures that this southern area could go down further into a cave and therefore widen out into a natural structure. Let us go north. Let us go north and see what is for that is also much more recent and more likely to be where our victims of the blood spittle plague have been laid to rest.
Lead the way.
And just a moment before we go anywhere, Marshall, Zanzibar, do you know anything about undead and charcoal? You might have heard something in your studies. I can smell something and I can hear creatures.
Can I do an Arcana check?
Yeah, you absolutely can. Cool.
I rolled 18, so apparently I do.
As you kind of take a think about it, that even without an Arcana check, being a proficient with the ability, you know that charcoal is 100% a frequent kind of component in spell casting. So even irregardless of like any undead connections or anything like that, if he's smelling charcoal coming from that direction, it's possible that somebody has cast a spell that involves it as a as a material component. That within itself doesn't tell you enough to know what the spell was, or it could have been Find Familiar or something like that. I think uses charcoal off the top of my head. So that within itself is not sinister, but you suspect that maybe there's some spell casting that has occurred in that direction. Go ahead, Draylene.
Just as we're making this little journey up the cave, once we start, I'm just gonna be whispering to myself in a sort of low tone. I'm just gonna be like, "Come on, Draylene, I swear you'll stay keen in this moment. You're gonna be fine." Yep, there you go. That's the joke. That's my name, everyone. There you go. Finally got to do it. Come on, Draylene.
Ben.
Yes.
Ben, is irregardless another one of those gnomish words? Add to the collection.
I say irregardless. I was actually typing irregardless the other day, and was shocked that it was like coming up as wrong. I was like, irregardless is a word, and then I
it is. Yeah, it's another gnomish word.
Is it not? Like, am I the only one that's ever heard irregardless?
I've heard of it.
I believe it's just regardless.
Yeah, I think it's a bastardization of regardless, but I have definitely heard it before and seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's becoming a word.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that.
It'll be in the dictionary next year. It's fine. What is it? 2020's word of the year.
So I tell Monty that Monty, I fear that charcoal is a common spell component, and no one should really be doing any spells down here whatsoever. So perhaps
I feel like
the
spells
situation is more worse than we thought. Yep, sorry.
I feel like spells are not something I would expect in a barrow.
Exactly.
And I feel like that creature outside definitely wasn't animating itself. There was no sign of intelligence there. So maybe
But why did it
whoever's
animate
responsible is down
Sorry,
here.
sorry, Ian.
But then why did it animate right when he managed to dig it up? That's very coincidental.
Because someone's
Maybe-
watching and it's being a jerk.
I believe that the rules of magic do not go with things like science. They go with things more like dramatic narrative appropriateness.
That seems to be the case. That's what I've noted in
Nature
the
of
story.
magic. For it is more of an art than a science.
You are proficient in Arcana as well, I see.
Actually, there is a quantum magical property called dramatic narrative, and it does tend to appear at the most unexpected time. This is scientifically proven.
You definitely have been learning from the bards in the party, I see.
I do want to raise a question, just because of that weird lady, that name we couldn't pronounce, and I'm not going to try. She said that
Big lady?
Just call her
like
Madame
that.
Ulip.
Madame Ulip. She mentioned in passing that the plague only affects those who have sinned, and I'm a little confused as to what that means. How she would know that? I mean,
Old rich ladies are always whinging on about sinning something or other.
yes. I mean, I hope it's that, but if it's something more, I
Have
fear
you
this is much more
sinned?
sinister.
Are you worried, Draylene? Have
Monty
you
just
Well,
Monty just starts checking his hands.
Yes,
checking
what
his
have you done? What have you been done?
I mean, you know that fight with the bandits. Stabbed a few too many. I think I might be next. I hope it's not
Did
sinning.
you go
but-
into a rage?
Um,
Sometimes I find myself
I like to-
inexcusably angry.
I like to call it creative passion. Just whirling that sword wherever it ends up. You know, it's.
Lucky you picked it
it's-
back up out of that grave then.
Yes. Well, that was the whole full stop to my.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that then.
Yeah. That was a friend of mine. But anyway, let's continue on.
As you guys come into, go ahead, Zanzibar.
I'll pat poor Draylene gently on the shoulder and just feel sorry for those of the creative persuasion and how vulnerable they are to their emotions. My character doesn't understand it at all.
Okay, fair.
Thanks, Zanzibar.
You guys come into this kind of wider passage. The corridor leads north, as it did on the previous map, but then there's a quick right-hand turn that comes into this chamber. Low ceiling catacomb, kind of 30 foot wide at its widest kind of point in the kind of circle shape of the chamber. And you can see that the stone bricks inscribed with names are still embedded in the walls here, as you would expect, memorializing those buried behind them. However, many of the walls have deep gouges where the bodies should be entombed. Body parts and bones are scattered across the floor, some still being gnawed on by rats that have found their way into the barrow, and some graves still contain the freshly dismembered occupants. Others lie open and more or less completely empty. As you proceed forward,
Chittering! I love the chittering. That's so cute.
would you
Cute's not
guys
the word I had in my mind when I heard the chittering.
would you guys pass north or south?
We'll pass
I
away
was
from
going to
the
say Monty
chittering.
might. Monty, I think, was going to go south around the wall. Can I do a perception check to see if there's any movement, anything bigger than a rat?
Okay,
basically?
make a perception check for me.
I'm more kind of listening out for more of those ghouls. 18.
Okay. I'm going to show you the whole scope of the room as you guys move through it, because with your perception, Monty, you'd more or less kind of gauge what it was, even if you couldn't see it all at once. As you come kind of southwards of the pillar, you can see that there is a tunnel that goes southwards from there, which is fairly narrow again, and seems much less hewn, or maybe a better way of describing that would be much more roughly hewn, as it heads southwards. As you stop for a moment and listen there, you can hear what sounds like shuffling movement, but it sounds like it's a little bit of a distance off. Maybe the distant clatter of something hitting the ground. But you can see that the room to the east opens up again into a much larger sort of area. There is a corridor which continues to the east out of this chamber as you approach it. And from that direction, as you stop and again listen, you can hear what sounds like sort of distant wailing or echoes, that sound that you heard when you first stopped to listen at the entrance into the barrow. Coming into this area... Sorry, go ahead.
I think Monty at that point wouldn't say anything. He just kind of looked meaningfully at Marshall and Ian and just cup his ear and just point down the corridors.
Cool. As you guys presuming... Go ahead.
Just Ian sneaks up sneakily.
Yep, cool. No stress. Assuming that you guys do, come into this area. All of you can see something kind of attracts your attention on the northern side of this chamber. You can see sort of three main things that grab your attention. The first is a ring sketched onto the floor in black charcoal. Possibly part of where that smell is coming from, although you don't necessarily think so, as this has just been like drawn down onto the ground. It gives off a little bit of a scent, but not a lot. You can see that there are smaller circles and triangles interlocking inside of that to make what is, even to a layman, quite evidently meant to be, even if it's not actually, an arcane sigil, runes written inside of the sigil that follow the lines of the interlocked patterns. You also notice, you might smell the blood at first, and then looking down, being on alert for these sort of things, that there are several dead rats that are kind of scattered near or inside of the ring, each showing visible signs of having died, of having been bled. Misread my own writing then. Of course they're dead. And then kind of across the way, it is probably Monty who notices this as well. To the northern side, sitting on top of a sarcophagus, not looking quite that ominous, but that's the art asset I found, is a small black book that is placed atop one of the sort of sarcophagus there that sits just its passive investigation, just its general positioning in relation to the circle definitely leads you to believe that something has happened here. All these three things are connected. What would you guys like to do?
Don't stand in the ring, just in case.
So I think Monty would immediately walk around the ring and take the fletched end, the feathered end of an arrow, and poke the book from outside the circle to see if anything happens. And if nothing happens, pick up the book and bring it back to Zanzibar. Take a look at this. Have you seen this?
Okay.
What does this mean?
When you approach and kind of poke the book, you can see that a thin layer of dust kind of sits on top of it, but it's definitely not something that has been down here this whole time, judging by the dirt and layers of dust and things that kind of cake on top of everything else. When you pass it to Zanzibar, and assuming Zanzibar that you open it,
well, before I open it, I want to give it a good look over to see if it's safe to open.
You kind of look back and forth. It just seems like it's thickish, it's not like a big textbook or anything like that. It looks like, maybe some sort of journal, a couple of 100 pages long, kind of like the size of a journal, but the thickness of a novel, if that makes sense, of a 200-page novel. Black leather bound, but it seems like it is bound. It doesn't look like a published book, so to speak. It looks like, like I said, like a journal or something like that. The pages have been cut, but they're very rough inside. Looks like it's gotten a lot of use, just judging from the edges of the pages and the way that they're crinkled and browned. It seems quite old. but you don't suspect that it's dangerous. There's no sigil, there's no marking on the outside of it. The corners of it are kind of worn down, worn through the initial layer of leather. So you don't suspect, there's nothing for you to think that this book itself is inherently magical or trapped or anything. You can't know without detect magic or, something like that. But just kind of passively, you guess it would be safe to open.
I'll very carefully open the book to the first page.
Cool. You look down and see that within the first page there is a very simple kind of note written which says, "The findings of Byrne."
Do any of us, I call it, does anyone know the name Barrett?
No, I do not. It is not the statue of this fellow to the northwest in the cliff. Can I just have a little bit of a look at that statue over there, by the way, just before we get to the book?
Yeah, for sure. You kind of step over there towards the statue, take a closer look at it. It is robed as it appears to be, but it's actually quite short. Like, it would almost be shorter than you. It is a statue of a gnome, like a gnome's kind of impression of not a Grim Reaper figure, but just like a mourner, maybe. You approach it.
Built into the wall and so forth. It's not suspicious in any way.
You don't suspect so. It kind of looks like it's probably just like a monument to whoever's buried behind. It might even have the likeness of whoever's buried behind.
I'll keep reading.
Cool. Sorry about that, everyone. I just wanted to double check that little bit of scenery.
Yeah, that was a good idea. Thanks, Marshall. I'll keep reading the book if I can.
Cool. I'll get back to the book. Draylene, what were you going to say?
In the fear that we might be surprised from behind, did anyone want to check out the southbound tunnel?
I'll keep an eye out. I'll come along.
Can I get the two of you to make perception checks for me? Just for, general kind of being on the lookout. Just hold on to the result for a few moments as Zanzibar, you flick open this book, and as you start to look inside, this book is filled with, frankly, quite hair-raising sort of illustrations of what appear to be dismembered bodies, annotated to be different types of creatures. You flick further through and see that there are arcane sigils that are kind of appear to be spells, and so much of this book, it seems to be like a collection of notes. It's kind of like a spell book, but it's not chock with enough spells for a spell book. It's only got spells on sort of, every 5 to 10 to 20 pages. But the pages, every single one, is scribbled with copious notes. Some pages are so crowded with content that the writing becomes virtually illegible. Can I get you, what would you want to be looking for inside of this book?
Some kind of link to the reason that people are returning from the dead, and also for any link to the plague as well.
Okay, make an Arcana check for me. And while you're doing that, I'll just check out. Ian, what is it that distracts you as you're supposed to be on watch looking around the
natural
south tunnel?
20!
I think I'd like turn to look and just hit a small stalagmite or something like coming out of the roof and just smack me right in the face, make my eyes start to tear up.
Okay, cool.
Tick!
It looks all clear to me.
You okay?
Cool. I will keep Draylene's 17 in mind. As you guys are kind of like listening down there, undoubtedly you hear the sound of like, what sounds like scratching or movement, sort of shuffling movement. None of it appears to be coming in this direction. Could be rats, but after a few moments of shushing Barber Ian to be able to hear Draylene properly, it definitely sounds like it's bigger than rats. But once again, not necessarily moving in this direction. While you guys are listening there, and Zanzibar, you start to look through this tome, you can see, first of all, kind of taking a bit of a guess, not a guess, kind of like an educated kind of conclusion being drawn, that this book is in fact a monster hunter's grimoire, not a spell book. It is filled with a small number of arcane spells, some of which you do not think are necessarily intended for use. And you know that these tomes are intended to collate the collected knowledge of an individual whose profession it is to seek out and destroy monsters. These are considerably uncommon artifacts, as hunters rarely die in their sleep and pass on their knowledge. And this particular tome seems to be filled with quite eldritch knowledge, likely never intended for use, but simply to help whoever authored it to identify when they were coming up against dark magics. This is a particularly kind of dark tome. You've heard of these sort of books existing, and typically it might be, a simple bestiary that talks about griffins and basilisks and things like that. This one, there's something very off about it. The book is obviously linked to the arcane sigil that's etched on the ground. As flipping through it, you find a page that features a very similar spell and a very similar kind of sigil. This is a ritual spell. The annotations of a writer who was not the author. You kind of take a few moments and see the ink is a different color. Maybe the handwriting's slightly different. But the annotations of a writer who was not the author seem to suggest that this spell is meant for conducting seances, for communicating with those that have passed on. However, as you read this spell, that is not true. The person making those notes made a mistake. This spell is in fact intended for conjuring or manifesting spirits and wraiths physically in the world. You flick to the very next page, which is almost entirely blackened with ink. And there on that page you see those sigils again, similar sort of looking style to what those that are written on the ground. But on this page they are translated below by the original author. And the translation is Branalik, Branalik. This is translated on the page, and there are two annotations under it. One annotation says the key, and the second annotation, made by the person who was annotating the spell, says this must be the incantation. But you, Zanzibar, have never heard of a incantation that sounds like Branalik. Finally, just kind of flicking back and forth through this page, you come to what looks like an interesting spell, which is called Banish the Restless, and is supposed to send manifested spirits to their final rest. It's kind of an opposite of what the sigil on the ground is meant to do. You, after kind of going through the book and considering the ring on the ground again, notice that the ring, as drawn on the ground, was obviously done by a novice. It is incomplete, and there are mistakes that have been rubbed out and then reapplied with charcoal again. The ring has elements of conjuration magic, as to be expected, as you have learned the purpose of the spell, although the patterns seem more are inconsistent with conjuring a woodland being or an elemental, because they are intended for conjuring a spirit. And as you notice the dead rats on the ground, these were intended to be material components within the spell casting, the spell requiring as a component the still hot blood of a living thing.
So, does Zanzibar, do I feel like that I would be able to actually try and cast that spell, Banish the Restless, maybe with some help from Draylene?
Potentially. The thing that you need to be able to cast that spell, and again, you don't know how it would work against the ghoul that you saw before, because it is intended, again, none of these sort of things you've come across before in your own life, but like ghosts, banshees, spectres, these are what this is intended to banish. But as a semantic component, as a material component required, the spell requires something that was of great significance, or is of great significance, to the spirit that is manifested.
Well, I'll tell the party about what I've discovered in this book and ask them what they think we should do. Do we keep looking and hunting? Do we try to cast this spell maybe for the for Tobias's restless spirit, or do we try something else entirely?
Of Tobias's restless spirit? I mean, if they're all undead, do we need something significant to all of them? I mean,
Yeah, well,
what do we do? Just
The spell is definitely targeted towards a single thing. Let me just read out like the mechanical features of the spell. Again, Zanzibar processing them as kind of magic, but as D&D players. It is a second level abjuration spell. It has a casting time of an action, range of 30 feet, verbal, semantic, and material being the object of great significance. Duration instantaneous. You attempt to send an incorporeal undead creature that you can see within range to their final rest. If the creature is willing and you have the material components for the spell, it automatically succeeds and the creature is destroyed. Their spirit passes into the afterlife. If the creature is not willing, they must succeed a charisma save. The target takes 6d6 radiant damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. They have advantage on the save if you do not have the material components for the spell. A creature reduced to 0 hit points by this spell passes on into the afterlife.
I guess we could try and, take objects from any disturbed sconce, disturbed burial we find in this place, and maybe I could hold on to them all as we come across these creatures and try and banish them.
it can't hurt. But it said incorporeal. Is that ghosts only, or are we going to have trouble when we hit up against any more of these ghouls?
Yeah. Since we've been given like out of character information, I'll take the liberty to talk out of character for a moment, if that's all right by everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Because of the fact that it says incorporeal, my guess is that whatever's responsible for all of this, like down here somewhere, we're probably going to come across a ghost or spirit or something, kind of responsible for what's going on. So if we find what it's doing, it might want to be laid to rest or might not, and we just force it to. But yeah, the ghouls and the zombies and so forth, going to have to wade our way through that, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's keep it in mind, I guess.
The one other piece of information that is with that natural 20 on your Arcana check, which is probably pretty important, is that when you look at the ring on the ground, the spell was not cast. It was not successful. You can tell this because there is kind of no signs of magical discharge, no kind of pervasive or pervading, kind of aura or anything. And also the sloppiness of the work. You kind of doubt that this spell was successful or cast at the end of whatever ritual was made.
Could I try rolling an insight check to see if this might be the work of Elder Broadleaf? Perhaps he's trying to work out what's happening.
Sure.
Beat me to it. Beautiful.
Sorry,
No, beautiful work. Wonderful. I was thinking that.
Roll an investigation check. I was just thinking, what would it be? What sort of check would it be? You can, yeah.
Can I chat this idea over with Marshall, and maybe together we could maybe do a better job of it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Go with advantage. So you had the same idea. Draylene, while they're rolling, go ahead.
What I'd like to do is coming back from that, from that little pathway, I'm going to take out just a hardened little ball of tree sap and start warming it up in my hands. And I'm going to walk over to Monty and say, Monty, forgive me for saying this, but you seem like one of the shadier types. You know how to keep quiet. I was thinking of investigating that pathway down there, but I think you'd be a bit better suited to the job, and I could make it a little easier. I can make you very hard to see, and what do you think?
I think it's. I think we're going to go down there. I think that's where we're going. I'm more than happy to be hard to see. I'm a good man for sneaking, but being hard to see is best.
So the southern one, are you happy to do that?
I think it might be our idea. I think sadly young Ian is not the quietest, and I'd really rather not attract undue attention from whatever
I'm
this
actually
thing may
quite
be.
stealthy. I'm proficient in stealth.
Oh, well.
Really?
I also have thieves' tools. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry,
Sorry, guys, I'll
I
be right
stand
back.
corrected. If Barber Ian, if you think you'd be better suited the job, then that's fine. Would you like to?
Maybe I could go and Monty could be there as my backup, and they wouldn't know that if there's anything down there.
Oh,
It's possible. Are you sure you're going to fit down this tiny burrow, Ian?
Anyone got any butter?
no,
Just out of characters. Oh, sorry.
no, you go.
Ben, how did you spell Branalik? Just out of character.
B-R-A-N-A-L.
Yep.
I-K.
I figure that's going to come up again. So
Also out of character.
not going to
yeah.
hurt.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd like to just say that I'd like to cast invisibility, so whoever thinks they'd be more suited to advantage on a stealth check, between Monty or Ian, yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think it's worth making me invisible because I'll probably scrape my shoulders or head on something and make noise.
All right, so Monty, you'd like to disappear?
I would love to disappear. The less
Okay.
undead that can see me, the happier I'll be.
In that second, as he's like halfway through his sentence, I pluck one of his eyelashes. I just grab it, twist it out, and with that that little warmed up ball of tree sap, I press it in and roll the tree sap up, and then just throw it at his feet, and
Chill.
he begins to disappear.
And bear with me. Begin to disappear. He
Whoa!
does.
Whoa!
Oh,
Nice.
sweet!
Transparency, like the lighting and how it has all the tangents. Damn.
That's cool.
Thanks, Arkenforge. We'll just stop every half hour just to be like, thanks, Arkenforge. Cool.
By the way, Ben,
Yes.
that was very nice. You, as the GM, get a tick.
Thanks. But I am not bribable.
So,
Yo, can
cash
you make,
monies or
yeah, exactly. Can you make a stealth check for me, Monty? And Ian, did you want to go with him?
Yeah, sure.
All right, make a stealth check for me. The only thing is, you'll be... Oops, I didn't mean to make you invisible. You'll be relying on your dark vision. You obviously can't take a torch with you if you're trying to be stealthy.
True that.
So am I doing a check with advantage as I'm invisible?
Yes.
Or just check in general?
No, go with advantage, being invisible.
22.
Ooh,
Don't need no magic to be stealthy.
That's pretty good.
cool. You guys begin your journey downwards, further south into the Barrow. This kind of narrow tunnel, not entirely comfortable for Ian to move along, but it's not impossible either. It kind of twists and turns on its way down as you move downwards, and the sound of shuffling does get louder and louder, but there's no source of light or anything ahead of you. You get the smell of dust, maybe the slight kind of coppery smell coming back at you, but it's mainly kind of the sound of shuffling. Coming to this one small chamber, nothing in here except for the brick, bricks in the wall, which denote who's buried behind the walls. Chamber has a small pillar in the center of it. Seems, you're learning that there's a distance between you and the next area. As you continue further south, I'll give you the description, but I won't necessarily load up the next area just until we decide whether the rest of the party will be coming with you. What you see in the southern catacombs is a kind of claustrophobic labyrinth of alcoves and side passages. It is impossible when you get into what you suspect is a larger chamber to see the entire chamber while standing where you are, kind of close to the entrance of it, this, in fact, you know what? I will load the next map for funsies to give you a clearer idea of what you're looking at. Let me just do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to click on this.
Monty, I can't see a thing. Are you still here?
Still here. I can't see a thing at all. I'm human. I don't have dark vision.
Oh, I thought you were on the other side of me. Yeah, it's very dark.
It's good to know that you guys don't have dark vision. As you come into this next area, you can hear the movement. You can not see anything really, but you can definitely hear that there is something inside of this chamber. You can hear just the low kind of grumbling, the low sort of crunching of what sounds like chewing, masticating, small kind of grunts and growls inside of this chamber. You suspect that it would be considerably dangerous, even hidden as you are, to proceed further in here without being able to see anything, much less kind of the corners of the chamber. Yeah, you can see that you're emerging out of what appears to be like a little side corridor that leads into other spaces.
Monty, do you
Can
want
I do a perception to get my... Yeah, I was going to say, could I do a perception to get a quick idea of sort of how many creatures are in here?
Sure, make a
like
perception
a bit better
check.
idea of just noise.
Yep.
Check perception. No. 8. Not great.
Cool. Not being able to learn what you were kind of after, but taking your passive into account to some degree. It doesn't sound like it's an army in here, but it does sound like it is a number. At least the number's not 0, and the number's not 1 either. You don't suspect it's 10, but you think it's definitely more than a small handful. Maybe somewhere between like 3 and 8. You know, pick a number, any number. You can also. That's not the only thing. Like the shuffling of these larger creatures, which you're with the pitch blackness around you, your mind is probably, making it worse than what you would actually see, or maybe not. But you can also hear kind of just the deep, the high pitched kind of squeaking, what sounds like mice in this chamber as well. And it sounds like they're in great number. You can kind of hear the little, masticating sound of mice chewing through something as well. The smell in this chamber is coppery, but it's also quite dusty. You suspect that you, if nothing else, you think that it would be dangerous for you and Barbarian to continue just the two of you.
Time to go. I think there's giant rats, there's giant ghouls, and there's giant zombies. It's time to go back to the others, and maybe let's try that corridor to the east.
On the way back, Ian bends down to Monty and just goes, "Do you think Draylene's all right? She seems to be taking it a bit hard, murdering a friend of hers or something."
I hope so. I can imagine it's very, very hard for all those people living in this town. I mean, I'm new here, and I don't like seeing bodies at all. And of course, these are people they actually know. So
I was friends with many.
I hope she's okay. How about you, Barbarian? I mean, you must know many of these people as well.
I have a half-sister who's sick, but she's a bit of a... Well, I don't like her much. I do want to see her get better, though.
Well, I don't want to have to, chop her head off or something, just so she doesn't take your jaw as well.
Thank you for
on the way
vamping
back as
there
well.
for me. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, man.
No, please.
I'm gonna keep checking for like any of the, I guess the word on the inscriptions on the little inscriptions on the wall, looking for Branalik or anything that's a bit unusual as well. And I assume that,
Sure.
like keeping an eye out for. I'm assuming not, but
as you look through, man, I wish I could do this effortlessly, but I apologize to Zanzibar. What was your family's name again?
Pumpernickel.
You find a couple of pumpernickels in here as you're kind of walking through, lending credence to Zanzibar's claim that her family go back a very long time. And then the rest of the names, and I'm not even going to try and disguise this, I'm just reading like the gnome names out of the back of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but just to give you an idea, they're things like Dabblebob and Delabean and Glim and Oda and Panana, like all these like really, you know, soft consonants, open vowels, kind of like bouncy gnome names. As you're kind of like looking, Quaylen, Ribbles, Rimple, thanks Wizards of the Coast, as you're reading through all these names, Baranalik seems out of place. You kind of begin to suspect that is not, you're not going to find that name down here, especially because that book didn't look like it came from down here. You doubt that you will see it kind of inscribed on one of these walls. Rejoin your fellow party members. How long does the invisibility last? Is it a minute?
It's an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sick. What do you guys want to do once you are back
Ian,
together?
Where's Monty? Did he get attacked? Where's he gone?
I'm sorry, guys. Monty didn't make it back.
Oh.
Well, Monty's maybe like tying someone's shoelaces.
Monty would definitely just sneak up behind Drayleen and just tap her on the shoulder.
Ah!
Well,
Just
we heard
sneak her
some
away.
stuff down there. Probably not wise for us to hang out, so we came back. What have you guys found out?
DM, just quickly, did my 13, was that enough to determine whether we think that it was the Elder who was trying to do this circle?
Gotcha, sorry. I did forget about that in trying to jump around to different people. You kind of doubt it, to be honest. For Eldon to be involved in this sort of magics, and from, you know, you had some knowledge of Eldon, even if you did or didn't know him personally, probably likely it sounds like with Zanzibar. And for those that did or didn't know him personally in the town, they know, you know, you've interacted with Sarah. It just wouldn't make sense. You don't see any motive well, the idea that I think you put forward before, the idea that he's using it to commune with the dead to try and, you know, find a cure for the disease or something like that. A keeper, like a holy priest in Elijah's, like necromancy is the king of all evil, right? Like, as laid out, these guys aren't buried in coffins because they want them to kind of rejoin the circle of life, to be, you know, death is celebrated as part of life, as part of the natural order of things. And so ripping somebody's soul out of the flow of kind of the circle of life, theologically speaking, and philosophically speaking, is quite, you know, heretical. You would doubt that Eldon, unless something else had happened, would resort to those measures. He'd probably almost rather just die of the plague than, you know, resort to calling spirits back from the dead.
What I'll say to Marshall, I think someone's building an army down there. I think there's something big. There's lots of rats, and there's more of those ghoul things. I don't quite know how many, but there's plenty down there. I think we should avoid that. Avoid that.
I agree. I agree. And if you draw in the dirt here a little map of where we were, if we do have to go down there, recommend letting them come to us in that area with the pillar, be in a short little line, and we can be spread out a little more and attack multiple people onto one at a time.
I think that's a great idea. I'll stand at the back with my bow, and you and Ian can be in front, and I'm sure we can, as you say, spread out a bit more.
It is really hard. It is really hard to speak to you when I cannot see you in the eye. Can you wander? Can you wander down this western part of over here and tell us what is there?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think happily to take a quick scout ahead.
Eastern.
Down to east. Yes, east. To the right.
All good. I knew what you meant. Is Barbarian going with you again?
Up to Barbarian if he wants to come for a...
Of course. We've got to
Cool.
show you how to sneak.
I'll get you guys to both make stealth checks for me. You do have advantage again,
It would be best if we have someone who can see.
Oh,
which is neither of them.
maybe
No, that's
before they
thinking.
leave. Does anyone actually have?
Yeah.
I have dark vision, but I'm not exactly.
Zanzibar, you want to sit on my shoulder?
Yeah, sounds good to me. But I'm not invisible or stealthy.
Nor is there
I
room
think-
with the ceiling as low as it is.
Or if three of you are going, we might as well all go.
I think given how stealthy, Monty gets a 21. So
Ooh.
I think he'd push out a little further ahead.
I think
Okay.
I'll come along too. Actually, I'll just.
Draylene, yep.
Because I have 60 feet dark vision and +4 to stealth. Forgot about
All right. Cool, no stress. I'm going to turn off... I kind of forgot who had torches and who didn't, but that's all good. I'm just going to turn off your torch, assuming that you're trying to be stealthy. Cool, so just so I understand, so it is, we've got a little bit ahead because he's invisible. We have our rogue going ahead. The two others coming up the rear, and then are Zanzibar and Marshall waiting, or are they going as well?
No, my character's too much of a scaredy cat to wait by herself. She'll
Are
follow
you-
I'll travel.
a little bit of distance.
Cool.
Yeah. I'll be at a distance as well, clanking along. Clank, 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 clank.
Cool, no stress. You get
Fine.
kind of like pretty quickly by Monty, as it's not it's more down than it is far, if that makes sense. As you come down these steps, you're kind of feeling the wall along, and then in front of you, it disappears relatively quickly into another chamber. Again, very much like the previous chambers, this area, stone bricks inscribed with the names embedded into the earthen walls. You can see once again in here, many of the walls have deep gouges where the bodies have been disentombed, with dirt and scraps of burial shroud and skeletal fragments scattered across the catacomb floor. Many of the bones, as you kind of kick them around, or as our gents come down from the upper level, and you bring your dark visioned capable friend with you, you can see that these bones are kind of broken, appear to be snapped and chewed on. And then you can see, everybody can see this who's come down here, assuming that our other two friends are just waiting with their torches at the top of the landing. There is, from your left-hand side, from the east, a faint glow. And this glow is of red light. Assuming again that Monty has gone a little bit ahead, being invisible. As you come into this chamber, you see that this area has a very similar sort of sigil that you saw earlier, engraved onto the ground, but a red glow emanates from it. You can see floating through the air in this area, as you're kind of standing back a little bit looking in, these red glowing embers that kind of float around and flicker like fireflies on invisible air currents. In the same chamber is the ring on the floor, small circles interlocking inside to make an obvious arcane sigil, runes written along the pattern, and you can see quite easily dead rats in the center of the ring, but this time they are placed very specifically in parts of the pattern rather than sort of haphazardly thrown around. And now that you're standing down here again, you can also just hear, kind of close by, what sounds like sobbing, like a young girl. Just the heaving kind of sighs of a sob. What is it you would like to do, remembering that Barbarian and Draylene, you're only just behind?
I think Monty's first thing would be run back, stop Barbarian, stop Draylene. There's something up ahead I can see, but keep quiet, stay here. There's someone crying, but we also need the wizard. We need to break a magic circle or something. So keep quiet, get the wizard down here, and I'll go and find whoever's up ahead crying.
Okay.
And I'll tell that to Draylene.
Should they keep their torches on? Are we going in announced or stealthily? Like
Stay quiet until I come back to get you. Just get the wizard down here as quiet as you can. Maybe. I don't know what to do about the dwarf. Wrap him up in a cloak, I guess. Maybe Ian can carry Marshall. Keep it quiet that way. The armor might not cloak.
From what
quite
you're
so much.
Just for your knowledge, Monty, from where you're hearing the crying, which from where you were standing is kind of coming from the south, you think if the rest of the party kind of congregate at the bottom of these stairs being careful, they should be okay to not be seen necessarily, and you to proceed down to see what's going on, just to bring them a bit closer. The risk more so even than the sound, you think, is the light coming into this chamber. Let me just quickly demonstrate. If our dwarf fighter friend was to come around the corner, the light is quite stark if he brings a torch down around the corner.
Yep. Well,
Alright,
maybe bring them down, lose the torches, kill the lights.
Will do.
The wizard and the dwarf, hopefully, they can see in the dark better than I can.
Wizard and dwarf, are we going via this plan?
Yeah.
I never expected I had the torch to begin with.
Okay, cool, no stress. I think I forgot who was holding them at one point. So let me kill your torch, and I will kill your torch as well. Not like violently or anything, but just get rid of it. Tell me if the marching order in that tunnel is any different as well. And then you start to make your way, Monty, back south, back into this chamber, carefully kind of tiptoeing your way around the edges of it, cautious of the sigil. And when you come to the southern chamber, you can see what appears to be a young girl, kind of like bent forward, like huddled in the corner. She's incredibly emaciated. You can see that there are holes in kind of like the little dress that she's wearing. And the other thing that kind of jumps out at you as being problematic is that she's glowing red as she stands there in the corner, kind of like sobbing. She doesn't seem to have noticed you at this point. What do you want to do?
The glowing red's probably not a great sign. I think Monty would kind of maybe sneak across to the western entrance of that little chamber and call out from there, "Hello there, can I help you? Are you alright?"
Okay, cool.
So maybe not from the sort of north door, from the other side, so hopefully if she comes towards me, she doesn't go towards everyone else.
So you're meaning to come down this way?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah. So hopefully she's not kind of just, well, no, it looks like it joins up anyway. Well, my hope was that she wouldn't just charge towards me and charge through.
Sure, gotcha.
But I certainly call out.
She turns around, stands up, and you can see her as well as she turns and faces you, has, even as you can see through her, the signs of the blood spittle plague kind of in her incorporeal flesh. You can see she's missing teeth. Her fingernails are kind of missing. And as you hail her, she turns around and she says, "Hello? Hello?" And you see that she kind of glitches. Her face turns to the side and snaps back around. And when her face snaps back around, it is a different face. It is the face of Tobias Crick, who stands there and speaks in a little boy's voice. "Somebody there. In the dark. Somebody." And then it snaps and changes again and becomes that of a gnome. Looks adult, but again, still shows the signs of the blood spittle plague. "Anybody out there? So cold. Where are you? Can't see you."
A friend, but I'm just trying to help. I'm hidden for now, but I'll I'll see you soon. Who are you?
Kind of takes a few steps forward, and as it does so, it's kind of floats along the ground, but at the same time has jerky sort of movement to it. Gets into that center area. The gnome looks around itself and says, I don't know. I don't know who I am. I remember.
Do you know?
I remember being in the hall, and it changes again, and this time it's a young woman. I remember lying in the hall, felt so weak, so hungry.
In the hall? Do you know how you got to the hall?
Why can't I see you? Not even
It's
here.
okay.
You're just in my head. Make a persuasion check for me.
Alright, that's really interesting. Whew, nice. I'll take that. Nat 20. Plus 3
Nice.
for 23.
Cool. You sort of calm it and it goes, no, you're real. You're a voice. There's so
I'm real.
many.
I'm a friend. I'm here. I'm here to guide you out of here. To guide you to somewhere where you can sleep and rest.
Just feel so cold.
I understand. Do you?
Who are you? How have you found us? Where are we? I don't... And it changes again. And you actually recognize this person. Maybe you don't know them personally, Monty, but you definitely saw them around town at some point. This is someone you may or may not have even heard that they had died of the plague. But they stand there and... How are you here? How are you here?
We were sent to help. Do you know you're outside the town? You're in. We're under the barrows. It's okay. I'm a friend. My name is Monty.
Monty?
We've never met. I'm new in town, but my friends and I, we're all here to help guide you to your rest, to help you, to help all of you. Come with me. Come, follow my voice. Follow my voice up into this room to the north.
Cool. Travel to the northern
to the
chamber.
room with the sigil.
Oh, okay.
If that's
Cool.
right.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. How far do you go into the room?
I want to go through, kind of coax them through, and ideally, can I loop around the sigil and see if I can coax them across the floor?
Cool. Can I get you to make a Constitution save for me?
Oh, that's gonna be. Yeah. No, terrible. 12.
As you step into that area where those kind of like ashes and embers float through the air, these, your best guessed, aftermath of the spell being successfully cast, and they contact your skin, they in fact almost appear magnetized towards you. It burns, and it also is freezing cold. You kind of can't tell which it is. Maybe it's so cold it burns, or it burns so badly it feels cold. You're not sure. The Wraith definitely follows you, but do you want to continue moving in this chamber, or do you want to divert where you're going?
I'm going, wait there. I'm going to get my friends. Stay there, and I'll come back, and I'll be back soon to get you. And I'll duck into the room.
Cool.
And I might
Can you make?
tell.
Can you just make a stealth check for me?
Yeah. That Monty can do. And I still have advantage for that? Am I still...
Yes, you do. You still have advantage.
19.
Cool. You duck back to your friends waiting in the corridor. The Wraith you suspect has stopped behind you, but you're not quite sure.
What did you see?
I don't know how long I've got. I think it's... Someone's done something horrifying. whoever it is, it seems to be all the souls, all those who had the plague. It's like they've been combined into somehow one terrible ghost. I think they're lost. They're not violent so far. I don't think they're going to try and hurt us, but I don't know how to lay them to their rest either. But there's another one of these sigils in the next room, and I think maybe if we can stop that sigil, maybe if we can understand some more of this, then maybe we can put this wraith to its rest and free these spirits, free all of these people. One of them was even that boy, Tobias, and I think I don't know what's going on. Some horrible dark magic has happened here.
Which blasphemous deviant could have done such a thing?
What was that? Says the wraith. I'm just kidding.
Zanzibar, do you have any? If you saw the sigil that he's talking about, do you think you'd be able to disable it?
I think I'd have to have a look to know. Also, maybe we could try using that Brenelec spell against the Wraith, but we probably need some objects that belong to at least some of them, or something of significance. Like maybe for Tobias, something from his father. Just something that gives us a helping hand if we do decide to try and do the Brenelec spell against them. But yeah, let's start by looking at the sigil.
Oh, and you'll see ash in the air. Don't get it on your skin. Cover your skin before you go into this room.
I might see if I can just look at it from out here. I might just go a little bit down, but not into the room if I can help it.
Cool.
I might see if I can. I might try and lead the wraith back into the room to the south by just looping around the back way.
Okay.
In the meantime, to give Zanzibar a clear run.
All right. Make a persuasion check for me again, just to kind of get the wraith's attention. Is everybody moving down into that area, kind of south of where you are currently, to see into the next room?
Yeah, you're not moving down.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the south part.
Yeah, let's keep the party together. Yep.
Yeah, just put my face against that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. 22.
Cool.
Apparently,
Right,
I'm
no
talking
stress.
today.
All this happening in a different order. I need 2 mice, I swear. The wraith is indeed kind of swayed to head back down in that direction. I'm assuming, kind of like stepping to the side.
Pretty much, yeah. I'll keep talking to it. Try and keep it calm. Keep it distracted from any noise.
Cool.
And give the others a chance to talk as well. While Zanzibar and
as it goes downwards, you think this square where I've just currently moved you to, Zanzibar, is the closest that you can get without contacting where those embers are kind of floating around. And you see the spirit kind of like, loping and walking. As it does, its face kind of like glitches and changes into somebody else kind of every couple of seconds. And as it does that, it wails, it kind of calls out. Where are you? I'll just run through our party members that are kind of floating around here. Where are you going, Draylene?
I think I'll just sidle up against that corner on the right. Just want to make sure if anything's coming through, I'll be able to intercept it either way.
Cool. Ian?
Yeah, probably just standing in the middle of that room where he was. It's kind of like,
cool.
Doesn't like not having seen anything for so long.
You can see, like, anything that's red and glowing, you can see as it gives off its own light. So you can see that there's something in the next room. And you can also see, and all of you can hear the wailing of the spirit as it's kind of moving around, stepping into the different rooms. Marshall, did you want to go anywhere different?
I'm probably going to hang as Zanzibar's guardian, basically. I'm going to bodyguard Zanzibar.
Okay, cool. Stepping to there, the wraith seems like it has its attention kind of sequestered. I don't think that's the right word. Focused, let's say that. Onto
Would you like to
the
play a
voice.
game of cards while we wait?
It
A
does
little bit
not,
distracted at the moment,
spoilers.
voice
From where you are, Zanzibar, what would you like to do?
Is it immediately obvious to me that, whether we can just disrupt this and safely end the spell? And whatever spell this sigil represents, anyway.
Cool. Make for me an Arcana check.
Does it appear in your magic book?
Very
That's a
nice.
good question.
Ooh,
I'll
nice.
check that. Yeah, I'll check that. this
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the same spell that was kind of drawn out on the higher level, but it is completed this time. Where earlier, whether it was messed up or it was a practice run, it was not performed to completion in that previous area. Here, it absolutely was. The ring is obviously arcane. The spell that was cast is very powerful, as the effect still permeates the area in which it was cast with those floating kind of embers. But this is not like an active spell. This is not something that you can necessarily cast Dispel Magic on. If you did, it would, probably disperse those embers and maybe stop the sigil from glowing. But this is actually the after effect, the afterbirth, if you will, rather than the spell is not continuing. But the fact that this effect is sustained is quite worrying. You can see, once again, the ring has elements of conjuration magic, although the patterns are inconsistent with conjuring woodland beings or elementals. The dead rats, obviously material components placed very specifically this time inside of the pattern. And disturbing because, again, if blood is a component to this spell, it is necromantic in nature. It is impossible to know what was conjured here without you have an idea, having read the book, I should say. Definitely some sort of otherworldly being, likely a wraith or something like that, but you don't think it was this wraith that's kind of wandering around, because this wraith is like the cast-offs of those that died of the blood spittle plague. If something was summoned into this area, it just doesn't make sense that that's what's happening here, if that makes sense. And as you look into this area, something does catch your eye. The sarcophagus on the far side of the room, just kind of glowing in the light. I think somebody had this thought earlier as well, but you see very clearly the name that's carved on the side of it. The sarcophagus is still closed, but the name that's carved on the side of it is Georgia Herschel, the dead wife of the alderman.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Sound
Is
effect.
this why the alderman's son was the first to get the plague?
Very possibly.
So does that sarcophagus look like it's I think the sarcophagus would have had her body in it.
Yes.
So the body's no longer there?
You can't see, but it actually doesn't look like it's been disturbed.
Okay. So I'll tell everyone what's been said, and I'll explain that I think we have two different problems here. And I'll, what do you guys think we should do?
Just while you're kind of turning to everybody else, the spirit on the southern side of the chamber, it is, despite Monty's best efforts to kind of play, 3-card Monty or whatever it's called, I don't even know. It is becoming like increasingly kind of distressed as you kind of try and, calm spirit. And you can hear it sort of say things. It starts to kind of speak at you, Monty, quite unhappily. It says, "You're just like it. You're just like you're just like the shadow that sits over me. That encompasses just like the shadow that sits over me. It comes in the night. It comes into the hall. You are no different. Disembodied voice." And starts to kind of stalk closer to where it can hear you speaking from. Snap back to you guys on the northern side. What do you want to do? You can hear that, by the way. That's not hidden from, like, it's in clear kind of audio range of everybody.
Guys, do we want to see if we can persuade the visions to willingly be what would you call it, released using the Brunelac spell, or do you want to do something else?
Well,
Let us retreat back to the previous room that we were at with the other circle, and reassess our position.
Good idea.
Can I get everybody to roll stealth checks? You will have advantage, Monty, if you're retreating.
Oh, dear, dear.
Can I aid the others by, again, maybe... Is there further south to this corridor where Monty's standing as well?
There is. You can see kind of like stepping back to there, it goes further south. But the thing that strikes you as slightly alarming, Monty, when you get back to there using your passive perception, you can hear...
Sorry, I rolled...
Natural 20, natural 1?
Natural 1.
Right, nice.
Natural 1.
You can hear the sounds of that shuffling, the sounds of that kind of like movement that you heard from the previous corridor, and seeing that heads south, you think it almost certainly connects back up again.
Yeah, what I was hoping to do was to try and give these guys some advantage as well by making some noise down south to attract the spirit to me. But if it's going to... Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work with natural ones. So.
Let's have a look.
What did
everybody... All right, make for me another persuasion check. I'm going to pull you down a little bit further south. And I'm going to pull this thing across.
Yeah. I'm the Ghost Whisperer today.
Wow.
Medium.
Yeah.
21.
Okay, that's not bad. We've got a 0 on our fighter. We've got a 9 on our bard. 15. Wizard 13. Okay, it is successful. The larger group able to separate themselves and head back up the stairs without attracting the ire of the spirit.
Monty just kites around the big room down below using the glow to map the room.
Cool. All right, no stress. What is the conversation that is happening once you guys get back up into the previous room?
And how long do I have to?
I'll give you a little bit of time. Depends on how long this conversation goes for. I will assume with what you just rolled, you're kind of able to do kind of what you just said, kind of try and kite this thing around, and keep moving around, calling out to it, whispering. It continues to kind of, speak what sounds like gibberish to you. The shadow has brought us here from the other side. From hell it was summoned. Different things like that. You guys going upstairs more or less get most of this as you head upstairs. But what is the conversation that is happening up here?
Just because of the fact that it is late and we've got more of the module to do, basically the point I want to make is to go through the rest of the area and see if we can find some of the important items to help make the spell work.
All right, make whoever's got the highest investigation. I'm assuming it's probably Zanzibar. Can make an investigation check with advantage.
+4. Anyone else better than that?
No, not me.
Okay. $19.
Not bad. You start stepping through some of these kind of broken open crypts, holes in the wall, stuff like that as you go along, spread out, start looking for potential clues to find. As you go through, you kind of learn to target the open tombs that have nothing inside of them in terms of a creature, in terms of remains or anything like that. All those that do have remains inside of them, you can kind of gauge, well, this probably isn't part of the Wraith because it hasn't risen as a ghoul at the same time. And as you go looking through, Each of you kind of finds something that you suspect may be useful. What do you think it is you find, Draylene?
Any jewelry. I'd like to find just like a scattered little pendant, maybe, or
Yeah.
or a little figurine. Just anything that looks a combination between sentimental and actual monetary value, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, you find basically what looks like a necklace on a snapped chain that probably became dislodged at some point on the ground. The pendant on the end of it is silver, not super valuable, but it looks like it's like in the shape of a teddy bear. What about Ian? What do you find?
Ian finds a bone whistle. He's like, "Oh, look, everyone," and just blows on it without thinking.
Okay, you blow on the bone whistle and hear from the downstairs a sort of cry, and can hear footsteps approaching from the south. What about Zanzibar? What do you find?
I find the little girl's doll in a pink dress.
Beautiful. Just kind of cast away on the ground, but still covered in dirt. And then finally, Marshall.
I find a tie, which is actually part of a noose, which is evidently from someone who has placed it with this person to so that they go to the grave with the crime that they've committed. They've gone to the grave with a crime that they've committed, and this is to remind them forever in eternity of the sin that they've performed.
Marshall, I
Very
give
nice.
you a tick.
As you guys collate these objects, you can hear coming from down the hall, that southern passage, what sounds like movement, as one of these ghoulish creatures slowly starts to make its way up into the light. What do you guys want to do?
I say we race down to the spirit and try and eliminate it, but release it. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm
I
just
can
gonna
hold
start
this thing off.
walking quickly, speed walk. Let's get out of here.
Cool, no stress. You start to head downwards. Did you say you wanted to stay behind, Ian?
How fast is this thing approaching?
If you guys all run off, much faster. It can kind of hear the sudden like, oh shit, there's something there, and then kind of like rushing off. So if you kind of position yourself at the back of the group here, by time everybody basically makes it, starting to get down the stairs, again, remembering unless you guys light a torch, you're all in pitch blackness, just an FYI. You can hear it, Ian, kind of like emerge from the shadows on the far side of the room, sort of approaching you, and you can hear that it's definitely sped up, having heard you guys exodus from the room.
I'll try and remain at the back, just as a definite blocker between it and them, but I won't pull my weapon out until we get to the bottom of the stairs and I get back into open area, so if it attacks us before then, I'll just be trying to grab it or push it back or something.
Okay, cool, gotcha. You guys make it back around into the downstairs area. And this wraith has been reduced basically down to with... when you get back down there, it's kind of weird. You see Monty, who's sitting on like a recliner chair. Or no, he's sitting up in an armchair with like a notebook, and this wraith's just like, I think it was because my father never spoke to me enough, something like that. It's kind of like that in spirit, but in practicality is Monty kind of trying his best to keep this thing at arm's length as it continues to kind of wander after him, searching for the sound of the voice. And the whole time that it's there, Monty, basically what you're able to kind of ascertain or learn from this thing is that it keeps talking about the shadow, keeps talking about it coming for it, coming out of the darkness, returning every night, stepping over me, suffocating me. And the other words that it says, or the other comments that it makes, are about food turning to ash in its mouth. The wraith kind of every now and again, depending on whichever personality it has, says, I'm just so hungry. I'm just so hungry. But you know that those who suffered from the plague just could not keep food down. They'd vomit it up constantly. What do you guys want to do?
Guys, with your support, we could try seeing if Monty can persuade this to move on willingly, and then we
Yeah.
could try the spell.
Okay. How about we ask it first? If it's hungry and if it's tired, surely it needs to move on or something. We need to let it know that we can help it, and then we can set it up for a place where it is willing. But if we just launch it without them knowing, then maybe it won't go so well. How do we do that? I don't know.
As
Well,
your
I'm
companion,
afraid I know nothing about these things.
Magic is not my wheelhouse.
I defer to Zanzibar and her greater knowledge of these arcane arts.
Look, I think Monty's the one that's made the connection here. I think he and perhaps. Oh, does my character sense what's coming towards us?
yeah, you can kind of hear it again. It seems like it's sort of meandering. It doesn't sound like it's
Alright.
rushing yet, but
I think Monty's.
So, okay, Monty, would you like to go have some rest? We can let you move on. My friends are back. If you let us, we can help you to move on. Would you like that? You'll never be hungry again. You'll never be tired again. You'll never feel sick again, and you'll never see that shadow again. We can protect you from that. We can save you. We can help you move on. Would you like that?
I'm going to presume I have all the objects that we've collected, and I'm going to put it on the floor, near the spirit.
As this thing flicks between personalities, who thinks that they would know someone inside of it?
I guess I would, but might be others as well who do.
I think I would too.
Well, yeah, Drayley, with your friend from
He's
upstairs.
paying attention north.
Cool, no stress. He's faced around, very much ready for this thing to come at him. Marshall, what's the name of the person that you would know?
Sadly, Marshall would probably realise that they didn't know their name. It's just someone they suspected, that they've watched and maybe suspected could be capable of a crime, but they never committed one, and would be a little bit upset that he never learnt their name.
Draylene?
The person they recognized is Ebion, who was part of their traveling duo. They were a band, and ever since he passed, yeah, that's been an issue.
Zanzibar.
She's very mournful to know Susie, the little girl, who is the daughter of the baker Bill the baker. So the little girl used to hide behind his very rotund and generous side and peek out and smile at Zanzibar.
And Monty knows all of them now on, some level or another. As you... I was watching the delay on that, I was like, nope, not a funny joke. And then Monty laughed and I was like, aha!
By the way, loving the mournful music going in with that. So well done, Arkenforge, for giving us good soundtrack on that, on that difficult scene.
As this thing kind of approaches inwards, Marshall, you see it kind of glitch and change into that nameless person. It kind of doubles over, and you can see that they're, in the wraith, missing fingernails, missing teeth. That brings their head up, kind of like looks around itself, and goes, "This punishment, worse than what I deserved. It hurts. It hurts so much." Kind of like looks up around at itself, around the chamber. Does anybody have any reaction to this?
Do we recognize the face?
Maybe not anyone else, but Marshall, I should say. Maybe I said
Marshall?
Monty a moment ago.
Oh.
Marshall definitely does recognize this as the individual. You can see that he's kind of quite significantly pained, struggling.
My character is very angry at the injustice that has happened to these people. No one deserves this, no matter what they've done. And if she thinks
This is
she
not
suspects the
justice.
alderman, she suspects the alderman, and if the alderman is behind it, his head will roll.
Cool. As you're kind of thinking that, it changes into the young girl, kind of like, but continues to sob and goes, "I'm so hungry. I'm so..." Kind of like looks around at itself. You can see that the eyes flick up towards those that are visible, and that it can see around itself, and then changes a final moment into who Draylene recognizes as Ebion, who kind of...
In that moment, I immediately go forward, but catch myself and slowly take out my mandolin. And I mean, if the time is right, we're probably running out of time, but I would play a song there, the song that I'd last been working on with him, just trying to keep them there, keep them docile. Just saying this last one's for you, Ebion. If we have time, I don't. Yeah.
Give us a verse, why not?
Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Can hear you.
The ominous music isn't really setting it, but it's fine. Here we go. All right. Golden bark and the blue tulips, the things I saw when I first entered the village of the people. Falling victim to the blood's bitter pain, we sat out there with the old rain to save people from their in the forest by the white farm, we fought some beasts that would cause it and save the shady farm. Deeper forward as we sat out there, as the bacillus with its icy stay froze us to the ground. That's part of it, but yeah, cool.
Oh, that was brilliant, man.
Still working. It'll be on Spotify soon.
I've been recording a chronicle of the adventures and have added a verse every session. And
Wow.
Very enjoyable. As that kind of you kind of fade out, and this thing kind of stops for a minute, looks at you. A small smile comes to Ebion's lips, and you see the recognition. The ghoul that comes down the passageway. Ian, what do you do? Do you let this ghoul interrupt the the beautiful moment?
No, I'll pull my axe out and kind of keep it at length. Just try and poke it in the chin.
nice.
Yeah. Just in the background of this whole, you just hear.
Hell, ghoul.
I kind of reach out to Ebion, sorta, but yeah.
He kind of reaches for you, and then there's a moment where he stops. His face goes very serious for a second. You can see that the body is convulsing as if another change is about to happen, but it's kind of being stopped. And Ebion says, Brilliant. The shadow.
What?
Its name is Branalik. And then he sort of falls backwards as a bright light that kind of explodes from inside of this wraith. And the moment passes, and the wraith is gone.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Nice work.
And that is where we will end our adventure for today.
Oh.
Ooh.
Crazy.
And thank you to Ben. Thank you to Ben, everyone.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much, guys, for being part of it. If you're still watching Solana, my apologies that you had your tech issues. That's a shame. Thank you so much, guys, for participating in this competition. Next week is our grand final, is our grand finale for the adventure. So adventurers in the adventure currently, make sure to send me your 2 preferences for going through to the next round. Sadly, we will only see 3 of you next week, but I've had so much fun today. Just remembering those that are watching via the Twitch channel, I hope I'm not speaking out of school when I say this because we're still working out the technical issues, but the plan for next week is that you guys on the channel get to decide who wins the grand prize. So make sure you tune in next week and vote through who you enjoy watching. Thank you so much, guys, for being part of this, and I will catch you next week.
See ya.
Bye. Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks very much, guys.
You guys are really fun, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much. By the way, Sufjan Stevens fans too. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
think I
yeah.
spotted
I
that.
have a couple parodies that I've been trying to put together. So yeah, we'll see if they make it through to the next round or not.
Cool. No stress.
And I also, Henry, I just want to give you a tick as well.
Thank you.
Everybody gets a tick. You get a tick.
Everyone
You
gets one
get a
right
tick.
again.
We all get
Cheers,
a tick.
Simon. No, thanks. That was great fun, guys.
Cool. I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Oh,
guys.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask, Ben, is
Yeah.
this where you intended to end this, or are we just too slow? And you wanted to...
No, more or less. More or less.
more or
I
less.
think I don't know if we're still on Twitch or not at this point because it's up to Dante to take us offline. But without giving too much away, because there will be the adventure next week, it is more or less where you guys kind of hit all the main points investigated where you needed to. So we're still on Twitch. Hi everyone, we're still on Twitch. Cool. Alrighty. Thanks guys so much. I will catch some of you next week, and those I don't, I'm so glad that you